It's already somebody out of the crown. Oh, man, this is never going to work.
Oh, is the tiebreaker who gets first?
I don't know.
Who gets in there first?
I'm still trying to figure out how these crowns, if you're in the chat, how that works. Maybe it's not working. I can't even get to the website.
I think you've lost then already.
It's right. It's kind of like trying to buy tickets online. It's over.
I think you got to.
They're gone.
Oh, yeah.
They're gone. I'll never get the crown today.
You got to be in there in the first 10 seconds or you don't have a shot.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. And you can whatever, say hi.
Unless
anywhere you are.
We cheat and have Owen restart the stream, and then you get in there on the dot. But that wouldn't be fair to everybody, would it? There's only 2 comments in there so far.
So if anyone's just wondering, like, what are you talking about? You can watch us on YouTube. You can stream us there. You can like and subscribe to WGR 550's page. They just started a brand new feature where commenting during the show, they crown to the top 3 commenters, and there's a little purple crown that goes next to your name. And yesterday I got a taste of that number 3 spot. I was on the podium, and I woke up today thinking, I got to get back on that podium, man. That's the competitive spirit in me, Joe. That's how it works, you know? I want to make sure I can be the best I can be. And as an internet commenter, we all have dreams. And my dream is to get the number 1
the number 1 purple crown in our own YouTube chat. Yes. Well, Flap has taken it over. So
you're in there and you already have number 3?
I already have number 3.
Oh, this is terrible. Yeah. I already got jumped. This is terrible. Anyway, good morning, everybody. It's going to be 80 today. Joe and I are both wearing blue rope hats.
Yes, we are.
Not coordinated.
They're not the same rope hats.
No,
though.
Not coordinated. We're both wearing blue rope hats with white ropes, golf hats, to start this Tuesday morning. Bills back at OTAs, and we'll have some media from the Bills today. We'll talk with Sal about it tomorrow, figuring give him time to actually check in on today's OTAs and talk with him tomorrow. Coming up on the show, 8:30, former Sabre Jean-Luc Grandpierre, who has been in Columbus for quite some time. We'll talk to him about Jarmo Kekalainen, how he's remembered in Columbus as the former GM there for quite some time. 9 o'clock, Alex Barth of 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston on the Diggs drama. And
which did calm down a little bit yesterday.
Not only did it calm down, it swung all the way the other way. I've seen videos of him working with young receivers. Footwork drills.
Yes.
And working with the receiver coach and looking, by the way, fully healthy. So any sort of will he be ready? I mean, he's out there running routes like he's good. He's done, which kind of maybe ends one of the conversations about could he have been there or should he have been there because he's unhealthy. I don't know. I imagine there's a lot of people think, why are we talking about this guy again? But yesterday's update was indeed he's back. They're not going to cut him. Everything's fine.
Well, have you seen the sentiment is that he wouldn't be back till week 4 for the Patriots? I had seen that out there. I don't know that
I don't buy that. I'm watching him run routes without a brace.
That's what I don't want to be Twitter doctor, watch a video and evaluate him off that, but
he just looks like a receiver.
He's running clean routes without a brace. Yeah. And the season does not start in 2 weeks. It's June 3rd. He has 3 months still until then. Not that this matters for the Bills anyway, because the Bills, I guess the Bills do play them in week 5 this season. So you might have thought that it could run up against that. It could be close. That game is in Buffalo, so you could have a pretty big atmosphere because of loud boos. But I think he's probably going to make it to that game pretty easily, even though the reporting is that it's maybe going to be close to it. Yeah. But it certainly has calmed down, I think, the boat stuff and everything in the last week. He's not getting cut.
Yeah, not getting cut. Which led me to question, did I fall for it? I rarely fall for it. Did I fall for it yesterday?
The Diggs stuff?
Yeah, did I fall for it? I like to tell you in these instances, you don't have to care about this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I often don't care about that stuff. And here it was, guys on a boat. It's peak May, June content. And it took me back to, if we go way back in time, to great moments in Bills offseason / OTAs history. One of the great moments and maybe most memorable moments is Rex Ryan saying the Bills won the offseason.
Yeah.
Which, do you remember it well? Wasn't it just because nothing bad happened? He didn't mean roster signings. He meant everybody's here and nobody got arrested. That's what that meant, was We had a good offseason. We had good practices. Everybody was prepared, and there's no distractions other than him maybe in like a fighter jet or something,
or he had a dog biscuit, or he's wearing a Clemson helmet,
but I'm pretty sure
he did some stuff.
I'm pretty sure winning the offseason only meant nothing stupid happened.
They didn't. That's not a year where they signed. Well, it definitely wasn't the Mario Williams year, right? Because you could have said that, right? After the Mario Williams summer, like you could have said, "Oh, we won the offseason," and someone might have listened to you. Really, they didn't do. Is that the offseason they trade for LaShawn McCoy?
It's June 16th of 2016. Let me pull up why he says they won this.
Okay.
He's talking about camp. There have been a lot of teams, when he asked if he thought the Bills have won the offseason, I do. We're on vacation. Nobody's going to read it anyway. Ryan said he would give Tyrod Taylor an A+ for his performance in OTAs and minicamp. And we do things where you get points for how you perform in the weight room and all that. It wasn't even close from this season compared to last. We had a good offseason last year, but not like this. It's so much different. We competed so well. Even those little things, the challenges we have, I just feel great about it. Okay. I guess it was not. I guess it was that.
So they didn't actually, though, make any like major moves is why he said that?
He said it because everybody seemed committed. Really, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Any coach could say it now. Just say, like, I feel like we won. We had a great OTAs.
And how did that end up working out? Wasn't he fired by the end of the year?
Yes, he didn't make it out of the second season.
So there you go.
Won the offseason.
Didn't go great, I would say.
Well, anyway, the Bills. How are the Bills doing? Have they won the offseason?
Listen, in Rex's logic of, well, nobody got in trouble, nobody got arrested, not that any Bill got arrested this summer.
They did find themselves in a little bit of league trouble.
Yeah, they've signed 3 defensive linemen. They signed 3 defensive linemen in free agency: Joey Bosa, Larry Ogunjobi, and Michael Hoyt. 2 are suspended, one's injured.
Yeah, that's tough.
So
that's not winning the offseason.
No, that's not great.
You can still win the season, but that's not winning the offseason.
The good news is none of them at this point in time appear to be in any danger of being out past week 6. Unless Bosa's going to be ready by the start of training camp, it sounds like. We'll see if Bobby Babich gives more details about that later today. He'll speak before OTAs. So as long as it's not a long-term injury, long-term, into the season for Bosa, and we know these suspensions are going to end by week 6, it's not really that bad. I wouldn't crush the Bills for anything that they've done or haven't done this offseason. They've had a nice offseason. I was listening to the Check the Mic podcast with Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo yesterday. They had them ranked as the number 2 roster in football.
Interesting.
Number 2 and number 4. They had their own rankings.
Okay, I was going to say.
Steve had them number 2, and I think Sam had him number 4.
Sam had him 4 because I was looking at Sam's rankings. It was behind the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Lions, maybe? Okay, yeah.
I think they both had the Lions higher.
Yeah, because they were second in the AFC. That's what I was looking at, second in the AFC.
Although they just lost their best offensive lineman, so I don't know if that would dip them down a little bit.
Yes, they did. The Lions did. Frank Ragnow retired, which didn't come as a surprise because they drafted a guy that could play that position as a rookie. We'll see.
Yeah, but like a year ago, their roster wouldn't have been anywhere near that high on any ranking anywhere, right?
That's right.
And now, maybe you wouldn't say that they're that high now because of just what they've done this offseason. It also is Benford is a more established player around the league than he was a year ago, especially after getting paid. And Bernard maybe and some other internal guys. Spencer Brown is a big one for me in this category.
Shakir is better known than a year ago.
So it might be more about the internal guys, but when I was listening to Steve make his case for it, it's like I think they are 3 deep at every position on the defensive line.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason why he had him there. It's like that. I thought that was a weakness for them last year, and now I think they're one of the deepest teams in the league in the defensive line. So number 2. And that's this offseason. Right? The whole this offseason is adding at that position. So I think they've done fine this offseason.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they've had 2 guys suspended.
Fine. Good depth. And depth is nice to have. Depth, not necessarily, your third string guy is good, but you've got at defensive end, are they a little bit of, if we may borrow from the very often used thing for the receivers, aren't they? Everybody eats at defensive end to a degree.
Yeah.
They've signed guys.
Definitely. Who could lead them in sacks? How many players could lead them in sacks?
2.
That's it? I was going to say like 5 could lead them in sacks.
Who are the 5? Are you getting
Rousseau, Bosa, Ed Oliver?
Those were my 2. Ed Oliver, I would consider it.
I would consider it's possible. Maybe you're right. Because I wouldn't say like...
If you were about to throw Epinesa at me...
No.
I was going to say, he's been traded 100 times by Bills fans this offseason.
No, I wouldn't say Epinesa. I wouldn't say Michael Hoyt, right?
I'm okay, depending...
I wouldn't say like Larry Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say either of the rookies.
Right.
It's possible. Okay.
It's possible.
All right, I might go to 3.
All right,
I might go to 3. I guess you're right, though. It's not as many as I thought in my mind that could be.
But it looks like a decent group. Maybe without any sort of single guy wrecking ball, but it looks pretty good. So that makes sense to me that they'd be ranked as one of the top rosters. This is one that is always tougher. Where would they rank without quarterback? Because those teams, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Detroit all being in front of the Bills. I mean, the Bills definitely have a better quarterback than probably all 3 and easily 2 of the 3. Better than Hurts, better than Goff, not even close.
And then him and Lamar are close enough.
Right.
Where pick your guy. Without quarterback, I mean...
You might put him as a top 10 roster, probably not 4th.
Yeah.
Allen does some work to lift them up.
Sure.
It's how it's supposed to work.
For sure. Like what... Part of how this isn't always the greatest way to play this game, but whenever I get a question like that, I like to put a replacement level quarterback under center for a year, and what's their record?
What's a replacement level quarterback? Give me a name.
An average, an average starter in the league.
Kirk Cousins.
Sure.
Kirk Cousins is probably
not anymore.
He's probably better than average. Or he was.
He's kind of ruined this because he was the perfect name for 10 years, and now he's kind of shot.
How about
who's new Kirk Cousins?
Sam Darnold?
Sure. Put Sam Darnold on the Bills. He's got to start the whole year.
How many games they win?
They win 9 games. 9 games is the number that just spit out.
All right.
They're pretty good everywhere. I don't see, maybe this year there'll be another step for a couple of these guys where they've got a lot of good players and they don't have a lot of all-pro players or Pro Bowl players or top 100 players, and maybe there's somebody or 2-3 guys that will be that by the end of the year. But right now they still lack a little bit of that star power, so if you take my one big star away, I've got what I have then I think is a very complete, full roster without many holes and a bunch of good players. If you put a replacement level quarterback, I think you're still probably a playoff team. 9-10 wins. I think you're right on the fringe of being a playoff team.
Okay.
Without your MVP quarterback. Is that giving them too much credit, though?
I don't know. It's tough to figure that out. It's always tough to figure that out, what they would do if it wasn't Allen. And you didn't have to go all the way down to either Trubisky or Mike White, but you just had a guy.
Right, yeah.
You just had a guy. If you had Michael Penix, we don't know enough about Michael Penix, maybe. If you had
I gotta figure out who new Kirk Cousins is. Kyler Murray's good.
Kyler Murray. He's never won a bunch of games in his career. Maybe he's not
Are you better around your quarterback than the Arizona Cardinals are? I think I'd want to say yes. They are better at building their team, and they have built a better team than a team like Arizona has done. But to be fair, who are they in competition with? They are probably on par. I mean, you just listed off the teams that those guys had higher, Detroit and Baltimore, and no one listed Kansas City or Cincinnati up there. And listen, that's meaningful, right? Like the two teams the Bills have lost to in the playoffs. I would think right now going into the season, like I like their rosters. I like the Bills roster around their quarterback more than I like those two teams. Certainly more than Cincinnati. Maybe you could debate it on Kansas City, but I would say I like the Bills roster a little bit better right now. Maybe Baltimore is higher because Baltimore is like the Bills. Baltimore's got no holes, but the difference is they have a couple of stars around the roster.
Names that are known.
Kyle Hamilton and Derrick Henry. And
that's the hope, for the Bills is that some of these stars, these future stars kind of start to pop, whether that's Cole Bishop, or if it's Max Hairston, or if it's Michael Hoyt. That Michael Hoyt would be. I keep going back to him as the signing of the offseason that is the most interesting to me, just because it was quick. They identified him. They snagged him. They gave him term. Kind of a little bit like the Curtis Samuel signing. It's a middle contract for a position that's important, and the commitment says, interesting, you must like this player enough. Palmer got that too, like Josh Palmer getting 3 years. So Hoyt's that on the defense, and we'll see if Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich have answers and have ways to use him that can bring out the most. He's been the guy I've been the most intrigued by since they signed him.
He, though, is not the thing for me that's still the most curious is, does anybody have it in them to become a superstar? Because even just a star at your position, you're getting all pro votes. Because I'm very curious about Michael Hoyt for that, for what he can do for the defense. But I'm not interested in him for that type of ascension.
You're thinking about that Bosa's on the list because he's been that good when healthy?
I guess, because other than him, I'm only, I think, at guys that they've already had on the team, and don't you kind of feel like you kind of know how good everybody else is? Not to say these guys aren't good, they are. Don't you kind of know how good Terrell Bernard is?
Yeah.
Don't you kind of know how good Christian Benford is? What about Rousseau? Don't we Ed Oliver?
Yeah.
We kind of know how Deion Dawkins is the one where maybe he is elite, and it's just the recognition that's got to catch up to the skill. So he's a little different for this, but almost everybody else, I would say, I like the player. I don't think he's going to stun me this year and become, all pro. I don't see that on their roster internally, other than the guy I'll keep mentioning for this is Spencer Brown. I think Spencer Brown is the one that, I wouldn't be stunned if within 2 years he's getting all pro votes.
I don't see Spencer Brown listed on the odds for the inaugural Protector of the Year award. Dawkins is listed.
Give me some long shot odds.
Dawkins is listed. You know who the favorite is?
I feel like it should be Dawkins because he invented the award.
It's not.
Get like a builder's bonus.
About 15 names in front of Dawkins.
15?
Yep.
For Protector of the Year?
Yep.
Who's the favorite? The favorite is who's the Trent Williams?
He's second.
Okay. He's holding out again.
Yeah, he's second.
A tradition like no other. Every year Trent Williams is holding out of minicamp. Who's first? Lane Johnson.
He's fourth. This is fun. This is name some offensive linemen.
I know. This is like just pulling any lineman name. Like not Ronnie Stanley, right? He's not that good anymore.
No.
Okay. I can't be tapped out on 3 offensive linemen already.
This is one you should get. Sewell in Detroit.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Anyway, 803-0550. Plenty to get to today. I've got a idea for how we're going to talk about the Sabres. We've got a new whale on the radar.
Yep.
And we want to talk about Jason Robertson.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
It's very fun and somewhat twisted to talk about a player and think that guy doesn't have any trade protection.
Yes. It was the first thing I went to go look at.
I want to get to it later, but it really is. It feels like we should force him to come here.
Can we capture this guy?
This is every trade idea is a caper.
Right.
Hey, that guy doesn't have insurance against coming here.
Yeah.
Go tell his team to give him to us.
Yeah.
And there's some chatter on Peter DeBoer in Dallas losing his job as well. So plenty to get to. And if you want to, tie in that Bills question we had, where would you rank their roster in the NFL with and then without Allen if you want that? Steve in Niagara Falls to open things up this morning. Hey, Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. And again, one of the things I always thank you guys for is keeping us engaged with the Bills all year round when the season's not going on. So it's very, very thankful. It helps me get through the workday.
Yeah.
Regarding the Josh Allen not being on the Bills or, with what they would be without a year without Josh Allen, what their record would be with, say, Sam Darnold or a serviceable quarterback, all I could think about was the Drought Bills. That's probably where they would be. They always had pretty good defenses and decent weapons. I mean, on offense, I think back to Eric Mold, I think back to Peerless Price, to Lee Evans, to some of the receivers we've seen come through here. And I think about what would some of those Drought Team Bills records be with Josh Allen?
Yeah.
And that might be something we've talked about before in the past, but I do try to think of, how good Eric Mold would have been if he had Josh Allen throwing to him. Like, he was already one of my favorite receivers to ever play for them. And I just imagine how much better he would have been if he had a QB like Josh Allen. So that takes into account, same thing with Elijah Moore. Like, what's he going to be with Josh Allen now? So a lot of ways you can go with it, but I was just really thinking, like, certain teams back in the drought era, how good would they have been with Josh Allen under center? Mm-hmm. That's really all I got. I just want to hear your thoughts on it, guys. Thanks.
Stephen, before you hang up, I want to get your thought, because as you lay this out, I start typing out a question on Twitter that it might make people mad, but I'll ask it. Would Josh Allen have led any of the drought year Bills to the AFC Championship game?
I think about the years with, and one of the guys I always go back to is the linebacking core we had with London Fletcher and Theo Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nate Clements was on that team, and Winfield. And I do think that with Josh Allen under center, I think he could have pulled off a Super Bowl with some of those defenses we had. And that's just my personal opinion, but I think that they were good enough. They just needed that guy under center. And that's really how I feel about it.
Thanks, Steve. I mean, they won 9 games a bunch of time, right? Or no, sorry, 7 games. They're 7-9 3 straight years with your round 7.
They did win 9 twice, though, right?
That's
2004, right. And then
once with Marone when they got that cheesy win in New England. But
I think that's the team my mind went to immediately when he asked this question, and then when you even went to AFC Championship.
Yeah, because it's easy. Would they have made a playoff appearance? Of course.
Yeah, they might have made the playoffs more times than they didn't.
Yeah, if Allen's their quarterback,
they probably would
for the 17 years of the drought, they make the playoffs
12.
Okay, fair.
12 times.
Without scientifically thinking about it, I was
threw that out.
I was going to throw out 11.
Yeah.
I think of the cold front defense with Mario and Darius,
who were both first-team All-Pro that year.
Yes, I mean they had a defense that led the league in sacks.
They were an unreal defensive line. That team also is like Watkins and Robert Woods on offense, right? Which is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That's the 9-7 Orton team.
What does Allen do with Fred and CJ? What does Allen do with Lee Evans?
Well, Fred and CJ might still be on that team too. That's that we're talking about.
What does Allen do with? I mean, you want to go all the way back to the Bledsoe years, like Molds and Price.
Sure. He definitely somewhere makes an AFC Championship.
See, it's definitely funny because there's an unintentional thing you have to do in this poll. Would Josh Allen have led any of the drought year teams to the AFC Championship game? You have to say, well, I think Josh Allen is so darn good he could have done it with almost any team, but I also don't want to insult these teams.
Right.
So, but
sure.
But what do you think the votes are in right so far? There's 17 votes. What are we trending?
That's funny. 17 votes.
17 votes in.
83% say yes.
89% yes.
Yeah, I think you're also giving people. How'd you phrase it? Would they have made an AFC?
Would they
Championship?
have led any of those teams?
Yeah, it's a long period of time.
It is a long period of time.
It's a lot of opportunities.
It's 17 years for 17.
A couple of those rosters are pretty good with bad quarterbacks. I mean, they did not have a good roster more often than they didn't. For as bad as they were a quarterback for 17 years, how many times did they have a good roster around the quarterback?
I thought there were multiple times they could go toe-to-toe with New England 52 men. But 53 was such a gap. Unbelievable gap that you could never. And coaching was a big deal too. Like, the Bills did not exactly have the best coaches through that. All right, 803-0550. You want to try that on? Would Allen have led any of the Drought Bills to an AFC Championship game? I'm not going Super Bowl because that's farther than these versions have been. Would they have gotten there? 17 cracks at it. Allen with all those teams instead of, Kelly Holcomb. Instead of...
Yeah. I get the coach, too, though, right?
Sure. You get Marone.
I get Marone in a big spot in 2014.
Think of all the tush pushes Marone would not have run so he could punt the ball.
Think of the punts with Josh Allen on the field on 4th and 2 against the Patriots.
Maybe he wouldn't have punted all that much. Plenty to get to. I've got some good instant trivia for you this morning. Joe's got trivia as well. We both prepared our own trivia. It's going to be 80 today.
Yes.
Welcome summer.
Shorts report.
Shorts.
I went very thin pants just until we get out of here, and then I'm going to go shorts later.
I wish we had an AI program that could capture the number of times you've told us that your pants are thin.
Oh yeah, they're thin.
I feel like you're
when I say pants, I want people to know I'm not wearing jeans.
You're often saying very thin pants.
Yeah, that's probably right. A lot of the pants I own are like it feels like you're wearing shorts.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. You could just wear shorts.
True. Tomorrow I'll wear shorts. Tomorrow it's going to get even hotter, I think. So I'll commit to shorts tomorrow. Not that anybody can see them.
Committing to shorts ahead of time.
Yeah.
Joe has signed a one-day contract with shorts.
Yes.
Who will appear tomorrow. 803-0550. Some Sabres to get to today, but we'll start there. Would Allen have led a Bills drought team to an AFC Championship game? Is it peak June content? Yeah. But that's what we're here for, and if you're listening, that's what you're here for too, possibly. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. Like, thinking about their build, I think the defensive end issues last year were kind of overstated. I just don't think it was as big of a problem as we kind of made it out to be. Sure, they needed better results on defense. You know what's going to give them better results on defense? The secondary being better. This was by far the weakest last year, the weakest secondary that a Sean McDermott team's ever had, right? DeMar Hamlin starting, which they did not want. That happened all year out of necessity. Mike Edwards never got off the ground. Cole Bishop was not ready. Maybe Cole Bishop is ready this year. Max Hairston, I mean, if that goes well, what kind of upgrade is that? Off the charts? Teams knew that Douglas couldn't hang physically the way that Hairston hopefully will be able to. So part of my optimism about what their defense will be up front is that they'll be better on the back end. Because
you're confident they'll be better on the back end?
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
I'm going to famously say it couldn't be worse, but I mean that in a McDermott range. The range of secondaries the Bills have had under Sean McDermott. Granted, it's a lot of Hyde and Poyer. A lot.
Yeah.
Year one after that ends up being Rapp and Hamlin. And that's, to me, it's not very good. I think Rapp brings some playmaking ability. I like him just fine. Hamlin, you just kind of knew teams could attack them there, and did. And this year, hopefully, it can be better.
That's the thing, though. It's still hopefully, right?
But that's everybody.
It's possible.
Every single move is hopefully. Every draft pick, every free agent for every team is going to be hopefully this works out.
That's right. But at some other positions, you're relying on veterans to be that. And at the back end, isn't it more about the young guys doing it? Which is fine. Like that could work.
Sure. But I guess
I might even expect that between Bishop and Hairston, one of those two, I expect is going to make their secondary as a whole better. Right. I'm not sure that both. You could how likely would it be both guys are going to hit the ceiling that you imagine for them? Bills OTAs are back today. Practice at 11:30. We'll hear from Bobby Babich and Joe Brady beforehand. Stay tuned. You can listen to that live here on WGR. They should start around 10:30. Ronald Darby, former Bills corner, retiring from the NFL after 10 years. He was a second-round pick in 2015. Saquon Barkley is going to be on the Madden cover. Madden 26 will be Barkley jumping over the Jacksonville Jaguar, the image from during the season.
They redid the video, though, so it's not actually jumping over that guy. They had Barkley in a studio, running and jumping and twisting and hooked up to a wire to reenact it with a nameless helmet logo-less player. Thereby,
there was a real person in the...
That's right. But
and we're sure it wasn't that same Jaguar defensive back?
That's a good question. Can you imagine? They're like, listen, we'll give you $10 million to be the same guy.
Yeah. If you agree to do it.
He will not
Free copy of the game.
That's right. He will not be immortalized on the cover of Madden.
That's good. There's a cool event coming to KeyBank Center in November 8th. USA versus Canada, women's hockey. Game 2 of a 4-game series. That's going to be at KeyBank Center November 8th. Tickets go on sale on Thursday. Sportsnet's Rick Dwally reports that Stars forward Jason Robertson's name is out there in trade discussions. Twice a 40-goal scorer, averaged like 37 per year. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Here's the snap on second and goal, and it's an Allen keeper, and he sails into the end zone on a 4-yard touchdown run. Oh my, was that easy? That might be the least amount of contact Josh Allen has had on a touchdown run all season.
Chris Brown on the call there. 4-yard touchdown run.
I know
easy
exactly.
one.
I know exactly what play that is. You want to know why? Because I've gone down a YouTube rabbit hole in the last couple weeks, just watching like the 10-minute highlights of every Bills game from last year.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
How was it? How was the season? Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah,
very fun. That game specifically was maybe the most fun.
Rams?
No.
I mean, they lost the Rams game, so I guess it couldn't be that fun.
I could
Lions?
not, with a straight face, I could not sit here and answer yes to what was their most fun game of the year, and it was the game they lost. It was the Lions game.
Lions game, okay.
Yeah. Nobody around him.
That was a fun game.
On a keeper at the goal line.
It was a very fun game.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. It's going to be 80 today. We are also, you don't exactly have to watch the air quality index, but we will have some hazy smoke up high from Canadian wildfires. So I was listening to BEN on the way in, and basically, it's not low enough where, stay inside. It's up there, but it'll be hazy. So you've got some Canadian wildfire smoke rolling through. High today of
Alberta,
for those 81. Tomorrow, 85. Joe, the lowest high I see in the next 10 days is 69 degrees.
Love it.
So
love it.
Summer.
So we can announce that summer is now back.
Yes, I heard someone refer to it as a hard launch.
Hard launch of summer.
Finally here. Hard launch.
Great.
It's here.
It does look smoky out right now. Like, it's not nearly as bad as it was a couple of years ago, right? Like, the summer of 23, it was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But that was in Quebec. This is in Alberta. So the wildfires would have been much closer to here than I believe they are right now.
In 2023, you could walk outside and smell it.
Yes.
Like, it smelled like smoke.
I remember two things about that. I remember it being the week of my wedding and not knowing if the smoke was going to be bad enough that, like, what would happen? Would we have to get moved? Because our wedding was like kind of an outdoor facility. Will it have to get moved indoors because it's just not safe to be outside?
Right.
I also remember golfing one day where me and a buddy were standing on the top of a hill and there's a windmill not that far away that you would see every single time you've ever played at that course, and we couldn't see the windmill because that's how thick the smoke was. We're like, we should probably leave. There's no way this is safe for us to be out here right now.
Yeah.
But I was having a good round.
Hopefully we don't have too much of that this year, but there's going to be wildfires. It's just a matter of whether or not we get as much smoke as we did in 2023. Right. 803-0550. We had an interesting call early in the show. Someone asking, would What would Allen have done with the drought teams? And we went all the way to, would Allen have led a drought team to the AFC Championship game? They had some good defenses. They had some good offenses. They rarely had both, and they certainly didn't have, the NFL's MVP.
Correct.
And for anybody that points out, well, I don't think they'd make it, that's a pretty lofty kind of goal. During those 17 years, there's a lot of Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, some Flacco. And
Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, I have the list in front of me. At least one of them was in every AFC championship from 2003 until 2023.
Okay.
Oh, no, excuse me, 2018, because Brady then leaves.
Who are the obscure ones that make it in there, too? Like Sanchez makes it twice?
Back-to-back. 2009, 2010.
Mark Sanchez made an AFC championship game.
Yep.
If you voted no in the Twitter poll, would you like your vote back?
Yeah. Jake Plummer made the AFC Championship in 2005.
With Denver.
Yeah. Phillip Rivers made it one time. Joe Flacco made the AFC Championship twice, from what I have here.
Yeah. He won Super Bowl. So.
Yeah. You mentioned Sanchez. Andrew Luck made it the one time. That's Deflategate. Right?
Okay.
And then the king of the obscure here, Blake Bortles. Who made it in 2017 and had a lead in the fourth quarter that he probably should have closed. They should have closed out.
Yeah.
And made it to a Super Bowl. And then post Brady, you've got, this is post drought, then Tannehill did make it.
Ryan Tannehill.
One time. Tannehill made it to the AFC Championship. Yep. Yeah, Blake Bortles and Mark Sanchez can make it once. Or in Sanchez's case, twice. We're only asking Allen to make it once with a drought team. I think he definitely does it.
Yeah. 803-0550 to join us if you want to try that on for size. I've got some instant trivia for you in a moment as well. Dan in Niagara Falls is up. Dan, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling, dude.
I just wanted to say real quick, you guys were talking about AFC Championship. I think it would have been really tough, just like you said, with Brady, Roethlisberger, Manning. Maybe, possibly. I think he could have done it at least once. Maybe the year Brady was hurt. I think he was hurt 2008 or 9.
Yeah, the year Brady's hurt, the Dolphins win the division at 11-5 running the Wildcat.
Yeah.
So I think that's the year maybe Josh Allen could have done it once. And then just real quick, the one caller that called about Eric Moulds, I think he's probably the second best receiver we ever had behind Andre Reed. I would just wonder how much better he could have been if he had a steady quarterback, because he only had Doug Flutie for 2 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. I've got someone on Moulds. I also have somebody that wrote in on Twitter and said, imagine, who would Allen have vibed with? There's a fun question, too. Like, of all the receivers, we know he had great chemistry with Beasley, great chemistry with Diggs at one point, great chemistry with Shakir right now.
Mm-hmm.
How would he have vibed with Stevie Johnson? Lee Evans? Would Allen and Evans have been a dream pair?
Yeah. He would have loved Lee Evans.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because Evans could do everything, but he gave you... Allen at his core wants to chuck the ball deep, and Lee Evans... I mean, the plays of his career, aren't they just Lossman closes his eyes, throws the ball as far as he can, and Evans runs under it?
They are often good throws, though. Those Lossman throws.
Often?
Yeah, I mean... Evans,
often?
Yes.
The highlights make it look like it's often.
I'm talking about the completions. Lee Evans is not winning jump balls.
Oh, no.
He's catching the ball. Close your eyes and put it where it's supposed to be.
Right. He's right. He's running behind the defenders a lot. So Evans comes to mind. I wonder about Stevie. Stevie was so unorthodox that, Fitz loved it.
Yep.
Maybe Josh would have loved it too. Maybe he just had to learn it a little bit.
Do you want some receiver trivia? He just brought up a couple of names. I might as well get some receiver trivia in here.
Of course. I'm always down for receiver trivia.
All right. So, instant trivia. Let's do some of that. And there are not that many answers, so this one will be quick.
Okay.
Travis Kelce last year caught his 1,000th career pass, 1,000th career receptions. There are a couple guys that can get to that milestone this year.
Ooh.
Yes. And
1,000.
here's it's kind of double trivia because you'll have to know another answer to a trivia question to answer this one. There are 4 current NFL receivers within the single season catch record of 1,000 receptions. Because I wanted to say, all right, who's within striking distance? Mm-hmm. So I looked up the most catches in a season. I did not have that top of mind.
Right.
There are 4 within the single season catch record of 1,000 receptions.
Okay. What about DeAndre Hopkins?
That's correct. DeAndre Hopkins is...
He's in Baltimore now.
Yes. He is likely, I want to say...
The most likely? Because does he not need a big number?
I don't know how many catches he's going to get this year. He has 984.
Yeah.
So
16 catches?
Yeah, you'd think.
He's going to get there.
You'd think. Hopkins is 984. Yep.
I mean, he's not going to be a huge part of their offense. He's going to start for Baltimore, so he'll get there. What about Diggs? Isn't close, is he?
He is.
He is? Diggs?
Diggs is the farthest away. He's the only one that is not close this year, but is within the single-season receiving record.
Okay, which we don't expect him to get.
No, he's not going to get 146 catches this year.
What's the single-season record?
149.
149. Who? Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas, 149.
Slant merchant.
Yeah, Diggs is 143 away. So two more that are expected to hit it this year. DeAndre Hopkins, 16 catches, and two guys that could do it this year.
It's got to be guys. Got to be a little bit older. What about Tyreek Hill?
No, Tyreek Hill is 200 catches away.
Okay, he will not do that.
Looking for the receivers that could hit the 1,000 career reception mark this year. One guy just retired short of it. Julio did not get there. 914 for Julio.
Oh. Wow, he didn't get to 1,000?
Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy.
That is nuts.
Wow. How many catches does Diggs have?
857.
Like, the fact that he's going to pass Julio Jones maybe this year kind of blows my mind. All right,
and he's going to do it in less time.
What about like Terry McLaurin played long enough?
No.
Adam Thielen is still playing. No, he's old.
No.
Oh, Mike Evans.
No.
Really?
Mike Evans is behind Diggs.
What? I guess he's more of like big plays. And Godwin's not close, right?
Nope.
Who on Cooper Kupp?
No. Two receivers with 974 and 957.
974 and 957.
Yep. One of them
Are these obvious? Oh,
go ahead.
No. I was going to say Keenan Allen.
Correct.
He's not on a team.
Still can do it.
He counts.
He's third.
Okay.
He's third right now in active receptions.
Okay.
He needs 26 to get to 1,000. I think he'll find a team and get 26 catches.
That's probably right. And then one more. This guy's on a team?
He is on a team.
Okay, he's on a team.
And he's a pretty big...
So it's not Amari Cooper.
He's a big name receiver. No, Cooper is 11th actively.
A big name receiver.
Big name. He's on a new team this year. He might break the record in 2 weeks.
He's on a new team. What about Devontae Adams?
That is correct.
Yes. L.A.
Those are your four receivers within the single-season catch record of 1,000 career receptions. If you're watching on YouTube, look at the graphic that Owen has put together here. You'd love to see it. Hopkins, Allen, Adams, Diggs.
Do you like the uniform selection for all four here? Chargers for Keenan Allen, Texans for Hopkins, Packers for Adams, Diggs for the Bills. I think it's probably right. Right? That's everybody's best team?
Yeah. Hopkins, Houston, Allen, Chargers, Adams, Packers. Although Adams in the Rams this year. I mean, that could get amazing.
It could be really good. He was still very good at the end last year.
It could be Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. Last year, a lot of it was Kupp isn't the same guy, and Adams is going to feast.
Definitely.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. Jeremy and Joe. Coming up today, we'll get a little on Jarmo Kekalainen from Jean-Luc Grandpierre, former Sabre and Blue Jackets analyst. He'll join us at 8:30. Alex Barth, 98.5 The Sports Hub on the Patriots and their little bit of distraction ahead of their own OTAs. And now Diggs is at OTAs. So a little Patriots report coming up at 9. Jeremy and Joe, you can give us a ring at any point. Vote in our Twitter poll. Come hang out here on WGR. Jeremy White here. If you're thinking about their build, I think the defensive end issues last year were kind of overstated. I just don't think it was as big of a problem as we kind of made it out to be. Sure, they needed better results on defense. You know what's going to give them better results on defense? The secondary being better. This was by far the weakest last year, the weakest secondary that a Sean McDermott team's ever had, right? DeMar Hamlin starting, which they did not want. That happened all year out of necessity. Mike Edwards never got off the ground. Cole Bishop was not ready. Maybe Cole Bishop is ready this year. Max Hairston, I mean, if that goes well, what kind of upgrade is that? Off the charts? Teams knew that Douglas couldn't hang physically the way that Hairston hopefully will be able to. So part of my optimism about what their defense will be up front is that they'll be better on the back end. Because
you're confident they'll be better on the back end?
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
I'm going to famously say it couldn't be worse, but I mean that in a McDermott range. The range of secondaries the Bills have had under Sean McDermott. Granted, it's a lot of Hyde and Poyer. A lot.
Yeah.
Year one after that ends up being Rapp and Hamlin. And that's, to me, it's not very good. I think Rapp brings some playmaking ability. I like him just fine. Hamlin, you just kind of knew teams could attack them there and did. And this year, hopefully, it can be better.
That's the thing, though. It's still hopefully, right?
But that's everybody.
It's possible.
Every single move is hopefully. Every draft pick, every free agent for every team is going to be hopefully this works out.
That's right. But at some other positions, you're relying on veterans to be that. And at the back end, isn't it more about the young guys doing it? Which is fine. Like that could work.
Sure. But I guess
I might even expect that between Bishop and Hairston, one of those two, I expect is going to make their secondary as a whole better. Right. I'm not sure that both. You could how likely would it be both guys are going to hit the ceiling that you imagine for them?
So Kekalainen, what is he provably going to do? That might be tough. But if he's just going to walk in the room and say to Kevin Adams, "Yeah, make that trade. What are you afraid of? Do it."
Yes, right. Like that's in my mind like his value.
Yeah.
Is Adams on the fence about any sort of big decision like that, and that this guy, would be saying like, don't be afraid to do this. Pull the trigger. Come on, let's do it.
Jarmo Kekalainen, director of YOLO, is what this is. He basically is going to Kevin Adams like, "Bro, what are we waiting for?
Yes,
let's make some trades."
Right.
All right. Even if that's true, that's probably the rosiest version of it.
That is definitely the most positive way of looking at this.
The flip side of that, or the other side of the coin on that would be, if true, and I think the most cynical way to look at it would be to say, wait a minute, so you're telling me that they hired a person to tell the GM when to actually pull the trigger? Why does anybody need someone to tell them to do that? Like, that'd be the cynical side, to say, why does he need help with that? He's had the job for 6 years. Is it 6? Is it 7? I lose track of how many years it is.
This will be year 6.
Year 6.
This will be year 6.
Year 6. He's had the job for 6 years. And at this point, he's a senior GM. He's one of the longest tenured GMs in the league. I mean, whatever. He's had the job. The idea that he needs someone to hold his hand, again, this is the most cynical view of it, is a bit of a sell. Either way, I think it's fine. A guy with experience, a guy that's been in the league, does it matter that he's Finnish? Is there some sort of, they want maybe more international flavor? Who knows, right? These relationships, I think about relationships like this all the time because when Ralph Kruger was hired, okay, his players loved him. They wanted to go that direction. Of course, he was not a very good coach, but he had players that really respected him, and they felt like he was loved by players, and he was up until the day he got fired. So do they want someone that carries a level of, oh, yeah, I know Jarmo. Jarmo's a name in the league. He has been a name in the league for quite some time. I think he was given plenty of credit for what happened in Columbus. You painted the picture of it being an imperfect market that he was respectable in. And I feel like
he made the playoffs 5 times.
Happy Tuesday. Jeremy and Joe. It's going to be beautiful out there today. 80 degrees. Summer is upon us. Brian Mazurowski of News Radio 930 WBEN had the right question this morning for Aaron Mankowski. When are we allowed to complain about the heat? 2 days?
This year, I don't know if we're ever going to be allowed
That might be right. May was so bad.
It was the worst May ever, so I don't think we should ever complain about it.
It really, though, does always hit for me that weather conversation on the news around here is often, when are we going to get a break from all this blank? Heat, snow, rain. Yeah. We're always thinking, when will this stop?
Well, you don't get that in fall, really, do you?
I mean, not for me. I
don't think you get a lot of that from anybody in fall.
Only the haters of fall. Hey, I finally booked my stadium experience.
Yeah, nice.
People ask me a lot, like, what's your PSL? I've not known yet. I got the email. I finally went ahead and booked. We've been through the stadium experience as media members. They showed us what the process is like, but this is just my actual ticket. All right, let's see what it is in the new stadium. My PSL, I'd imagine it'll be one of the lower ones. I sit in the upper deck and the 300s. So eager to see what that would be, what the season ticket price is. It's starting to become a little bit more real, and it's been a while waiting for it. It's June.
We're within a year
of the stadium being
I don't know.
Finished-ish.
I was gonna say we're probably about a year, maybe we're a year and a month away from whatever the first event would be at the stadium.
Yep.
Next July.
Yeah.
Probably around when they'll open it. So. And the last time there was an update on PSLs, what was the number we saw? Like 25,000?
I don't know if I should ever trust that.
Yeah, it was a week ago. It sold more than 25,000. On pace to sell it out. 80% of the season ticket holders have signed up for PSLs.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm inclined. Maybe I'm jaded and cynical. I'm inclined to. I don't know if I should trust those numbers because it's obviously in the interest of the team to say that things are going well. I'm sure they're going fine, but 80% or 80% really taking them? Maybe not. It's kind of like this is the number one guy on our board. All right, I don't get to see how the sausage is made. So at the risk of being a little bit cynical there, I just wouldn't blindly take every number there, but. I'm sure it's going well. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. When we return, we can recap things on that Twitter poll we have about Josh Allen and would he take a drought team to the AFC Championship game. But want to mix in some Sabres and see if they can steal somebody from another team?
A star player.
Nope,
no pun intended.
A star player available. So we'll get you Frank Saravelli. He told Andrew and Craig on After the Whistle how things are going with Kevin Adams from what he's hearing. Play you that, and then talk about this star player idea and what the Sabres can do with maybe Jarmo Kekalainen letting Kevin Adams know he should get busy here. 803-0550 to join us on WGR. And I had the thought this weekend about Diggs and his career arc here. Like, if we talk about it like a breakup, which we have before. The Bills and Diggs broke up and went their separate ways.
Jeremy Whitehair for Russell's
Tree and Shrub
plenty of
Farm.
Bills fans were mad about it.
Some thought, like, garden, your landscape,
best of luck, we had great times.
The porch.
Now we get to a stage, Joe,
planters,
for me,
some
where
hanging baskets. Russell's Tree and Shrub Farm, you can get the plants in the ground now. And you can also, of course, go to the tent, which is up. They've got all the annuals you need to give your garden a big splash of color. Don't skip the greenhouse road. Some just have great careers, retire, and go to the Hall of Fame. You've got more examples of that. And for Diggs, man, when they brought him here, he was the best receiver in football. He had multiple great seasons. And then, you want to say personalities or meshing with the quarterback, they burned out. Okay. And Allen couldn't take it anymore, or Diggs couldn't take it, or the team couldn't take it. You get to a point where, like, man, it's kind of like one of those tales of wasted talent that you could have stayed in a great situation if you just stayed. If you could just kind of keep it reined in, you were going to continue. Like, the Bills would not have really gone, I don't think, to the everybody eats, blah, blah, blah. it would have just been he's still on the team and we're going to get other receivers and keep going. And he would have had a career here. He'd had at least one more year. Maybe he tears his ACL. And I don't know. To me, the whole thing kind of gets a little sad if it ends up where he does get cut. And now he's... Deontay Johnson is an example of this, too. Deontay Johnson is provably great at getting open. He's an incredible receiver, but he burned out in Pittsburgh and immediately went to, Carolina, and then to Baltimore and Houston, and now he's in Cleveland, and you think, this is an incredible talent that is going to be wasted. Sometimes it happens
but
where
even that guy's not, Diggs was one of the best receivers in football. Hall of Fame trajectory. Kept going, and maybe he still will. But
and Johnson, I feel like, could have been that maybe somewhere else. Paul Hamilton at 7 o'clock on the Sabres' hire of Jarmo Kekalainen, which happened on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And what time on Friday? Were you still here?
No, it was after we were gone. It was during the Extra Point show, I believe.
All right.
It happened.
So this is our first chance, both of us, to really kick around this idea on the air here of Jarmo Kekalainen, which is, as a hiring, should I have the official title here? I probably should get this.
Senior advisor,
okay.
Yep.
So they've hired a senior advisor and a special assistant. Basically, Kevin Adams with Jarmo Kekalainen and Eric Stahl has other bodies, other minds to discuss things about how they're going to do whatever, everything they do with the team, how they're going to move forward, their sounding boards, or they give feedback, or they make decisions. They can be part of a group think more idea. And I think that's good. Without going any further, more minds, more people that have knowledge of the game being in there is probably good, right? That's an easy one. The question from there is, will it be any different? Will anything really provably be different, and could anybody have expected anything better than what they did, realistically?
I don't think you could have. I mean, they tried. It sounded like they tried, right?
It sounded like they tried.
They wanted to talk to Lou Lamoriello. Maybe they did talk to these guys, but they couldn't get them to do the job. Lou Lamoriello, Ken Holland, whoever else they might have talked to.
Ken Holland, who took a GM job.
Right.
So probably wasn't ever going to consider a job where he's just an advisor.
You're not in the ball game with a guy like that if he's thinking he can get a job like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Lamoriello, you thought you could get in it because he's 84 or whatever he is, and probably thinking he can't get another GM job, but that he came here for his Nexus interview, and then that was it. This was better than I thought they would have been able to do for this role. And there could be influence on how Kevin Adams does his job from this individual. Bills OTAs get rolling again today. 11:30 for practice. We're going to hear from Bobby Babich and Joe Brady beforehand, 10:30 and 11 to hear from them live here on WGR. Ronald Darby retiring from the NFL at age 31. Bill's second-round pick in 2015. Had a 10-year career. Last started for the Jaguars last season at corner. His career is done. To elsewhere in the league, Ian Rappaport says that the Patriots have no plans to release Stefan Diggs. Diggs was there at Patriots OTAs yesterday. The Eagles officially trade Bryce Huff to the 49ers for a 5th-round pick. Saquon Barkley on the Madden cover. It's the image of him jumping over a Jaguar from last season on the cover. In hockey, Sportsnet's Rick Dwally reports Stars forward Jason Robertson's name is out there in trade discussions. He's 25 years old, averaged 37 goals per game over the last 4 years. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Kevin Adams is beginning to make calls. And the calls that I'm understanding are happening around the league are, we want to shake things up. We want to do something big. Tell me what you're interested in. So I think just about everything is on the table. I mean, maybe with some rare exceptions, but that you could see some of those types of names land on my trade targets board at some point in time over the next 4 weeks, because the Sabres are going to be engaging in those types of conversations to shake it up. Okay, so what type of shakeup are you expecting? Here's the thing. I can't answer that because Kevin Adams doesn't know what that shakeup could be. That's been the ambiguity and probably even some of the frustration that's emanated from some of these calls with other general managers. Okay, tell me who's available, and then we can talk about it. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, let's dive in and discuss more.
Frank Saravelli, formerly of Daily Faceoff.
Still Daily Faceoff.
Okay, still there.
Yep.
I feel like Paul has to say. I want to say what Paul is. Like, he wouldn't trust Saravelli, and that's fine. Paul, given that context, on Saravelli there, on Kevin Adams, if that is indeed how it's going. By the way, good morning, Jeremy and Joe. And we talked a little in the first hour about, would Josh Allen lead a Drought team to the AFC Championship game? Because
Yes.
a caller called, and we put it up as a Twitter poll. You can vote on that. You can chime in on YouTube as well and hang out. But right there on Kevin Adams. So I saw that yesterday. That's Frank Saravelli with Andrew Peters and Craig Riffey on After the Whistle.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's eye of the beholder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that sounds like a problem? If that's true, Kevin Adams is calling every team and saying, let's think big. What are we going to do here? We're open to anything. And it sounds like Saravelli is saying that Adams isn't exactly bringing an offer or an idea, but more asking other GMs, what would you want to do?
I guess it could. That's not the first thing I thought of when I heard that, though. What I thought of was last year there were stories told and reports about the league maybe believed that Kevin Adams overvalued his players, and that his shouting into a megaphone to the other GMs, "Hey, I'm here. Like, I'm open to something big," is maybe a. Well, we'll see if it actually works in practice, but a message to the other GMs of, if you think I overvalue my players and you wouldn't give me a call because you think that, give me a call.
Yeah.
Find out.
Okay.
Because I might be more open to trading them than you think I am.
I don't think it's a problem for a GM to do exactly this. And without making too much of a comparison to your own fantasy football dynasty leagues, but sometimes you just know you need to make changes, and opening the door with 31 other GMs for dialogue, if that were to happen that way, I don't think that has to be a bad thing. I mean, maybe you call Dallas and say, what's going on with Robertson? We'd be interested.
Right.
And that starts a dialogue. Or maybe it's the Sharks, and they thought they were going to be picking first, and they're not picking first. So you say, hey, you looking for a defenseman? Like, what are you thinking? Because to me, opening those dialogues with other teams is the exact way to not get penned in on one deal, but let's see where this goes.
And you're also not really being the hunter when you hear that, right? Like, you're not in the weeds and you see this Robertson thing and you're like, okay, let me get in on Dallas. Let me call that, because if you're announcing to the world that I'm in for the shakeup, what in another GM sees that, they're not. Dallas isn't calling you, I don't think, for to offer Jason Robertson for a first-round pick and a prospect, right? They're coming after your guys.
Yeah.
When they see you're open to something big, it's who can we get that's good from them? Now, maybe there's a hockey trade to be worked out, and there would be enough deals where you would still find your way to something meaningful on the other end that isn't picks and prospects. And he's done that twice already. But yeah, it is more. It's not quite him being the hunter, I would say.
Yeah, there's some semantics to this, but he said he wasn't shopping Casey Middlestat, and then they trade Casey Middlestat because the deal just kind of comes together.
Sure.
You can not believe they were shopping him or not, but I feel like, take me back, wasn't there a trade where it might have been Bottrell, it might have been Tim Murray, where talks started about a different player, and then they ultimately get to, well, how about this guy instead? And again, like, it doesn't have to be specific. We don't have to remember it. We know that happens. I'm thinking all the way back to, and this is a very famous trade, like Taylor Hall for Adam Larson.
Yeah.
The league didn't know he was available.
Right.
Let's go to Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. The league didn't know.
Yeah.
And the only way that can happen is if instead of calling and shopping your guys, you just get on a phone call and say, like,
let's get a deal done with one team.
Yo, St. Louis, you thinking anything?
Yeah.
And maybe that day that GM says, you know what?
Yeah. That does happen in your fantasy leagues, by the way.
Yeah.
You see a guy get traded, and then you text your friend, like,
nobody called me?
You didn't call me? You didn't shoot me a text?
Right, and that definitely...
And that's always frustrating.
That definitely happens in the NHL, the NFL, the NBA. Definitely. So I don't think it's a major problem for the Sabres to look at calling every team without a set, hey, here's who we would want from you. I actually think that might be less productive. Call all 31 GMs and tell them the player you'd like to trade for. And instead... It's like, let's chat, you know?
Yeah.
Does Jarmo Kekalainen make one of these calls with someone that he used to work for? I mean,
yeah,
is that not call? Well, I can't call Florida. They're playing. But
yeah, I wonder if it graduates to that. The thing I wonder is, are they going to be, no one's coming and offering you their best players, I don't think. So you've got to be willing to give up something of substance if you want a Jason Robertson, or you want to revisit Elias Pettersson, or you want to do something like that. Like, I pulled up Frank Saravelli's trade board, the clip we just came in with. His trade board, or Daily Faceoff's collective trade board. There are some big names on here. 2 of the top 4, though, are Sabres. Peterka and Byram.
Yeah.
So, and one of those, I think, is a much more expensive and a much bigger decision than the other. Like, Byram, I can't imagine plays another game for this team. And I also don't feel like he's worth a crazy amount. Peterka is a decision. Like, how do you want to navigate that? You still have control for multiple years. But if you want to do this shakeup, and there are these star players out there, you know, you're trading a 23-year-old, but doesn't trading a 23-year-old for a 25, 26-year-old sound like a good idea?
Sure. He's definitely not too old to worry about this. I mean, it's not a guy that's 30. Robertson...
I'm not even sure if he was 30 I would really care about it.
I might feel the same way. So, do you want to get real nuts and say, like, what, Peterka and 9th overall, Peterka and Benson?
Benson's always tough because I
Benson's
love watching
always
him play.
tough because you love watching him play, and he's young and he's a whatever.
He's a good defensive player.
When he's on the ice, good things happen. But is he ever going to actually score?
Right,
the level you want?
I think a smart team doesn't let Benson walk right now.
Well, it's not a walk.
Not walk. Right, sorry, but
would you include him in a deal for Jason Robertson?
I would much rather.
I'm not asking what you'd rather.
If they say
I want Benson and Byram and 9,
because the game is not. This is often how you can fall into a trap. I just fell into this trap. I am talking with Dallas as though Dallas can't talk to 29 other teams about trading Jason Robertson. I've got to have the best offer. So to beat 29 teams, do I have to put Zach Benson in the deal with JJ Peterka? I think I do it. That's a hard pill to swallow because I love Benson as a player, but I'm getting a guy who has scored. He's scored in the last 4 years as many goals as Tage Thompson has. Think of it that way. Peterka's a nice player, very good player. And Benson looks like he's got a lot of promise, and he's already a very valuable two-way player. But am I getting another Tage Thompson on my roster? Because that's what this team is missing, right? Is the stars at the top of the lineup next to Dahlin and Tage. So I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do almost anything to get a player of that caliber. So I don't know how much further I would go than those two, but that's I would go that far.
One thing you have to wonder is, while we make these loose comparisons to your own fantasy leagues and dynasty leagues, those leagues don't have no trade clauses. The Sneaky Joe Van Buren boys,
they can trade for whoever.
Trying to trade for Josh Allen's like, actually, he has a no trade clause. He won't go to your team.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. And one thing you have to wonder about that is, here's Jason Robertson, who does not have no trade protection.
Right.
Which, I feel like we should have a term for this. We should call this some sort of hostile takeover. It really kind of is that, right? You notice a player, Pedersen was this, his kick's in July 1st?
July 1st. He's got less than a month.
Less than a month to trade for Pedersen before he can say no.
Yeah.
And Robertson doesn't have protection from a trade. So when guys don't have trade protection, it's almost like the Sabres have to have a different board in the office. Here's our big board of all the NHL players. Now here's the board of guys we could get because they can't say no.
Right.
We need a hostile takeover of Dallas. Here's Peterka and Benson and, I don't know if the 9th pick is interesting to them, for a 25-year-old Jason Robertson who's an 80-point player and had 109 points 2 years ago.
But if that's the third piece also, remember, first-round pick is the third piece, then we're really talking. It's just kind of what do you want them to be? What do you want them to do? I want them to be a team right now that acts desperate. And that might be viewed as desperate in a way. Is look at them. They got two really good young players that they are willing to just send away. You're getting a star. You're getting a star player, but look how much they're willing to give to get that guy. I want them to be that team. I want them to be willing to overpay because they're getting the best player in the trade.
Well, isn't this a little bit of what Kekalainen did in Columbus?
A little, yeah.
We're not a great team. They were never a team that was going for the cup. It was about, we have to get in and win playoff games and series. And they were very aggressive in pursuing that. Even though they couldn't keep guys, it was about whatever it takes to get over the line.
Yeah, it wasn't just hockey trades. He made, one of his last trades he made was a first and a second round pick for Ivan Provorov. He trades a bunch for Artemi Panarin way back when. There are trades littered throughout his history like this.
The Sabres almost have to...
Maybe not as good as Robertson. Panarin was, but that's it.
They have to view the playoffs as relegation and promotion. They need to get promoted.
Yeah.
It really is that big of a bar to clear for them, where if you were to make the playoffs 1 year, okay, that probably doesn't take you off of all the no-trade lists.
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years. Hey, have you made it to the mid-table now where you can be treated like a real team?
Maybe you're off half the trade list at that point.
Yeah, you're not just going to
more than half.
You're not just going to sneak up on the league and become a cup contender, especially not in this division, which is pretty loaded. But,
yeah,
I mean, if it's Robertson, if it's Pedersen, if it's seeking stars and backfilling in after that, they had this vision of all these first-round picks. It's actually the second time they did this. The first time was Reinhart, Eichel, bunch of picks, right? I can remember getting the mailer, 17 first and second round picks in the next 4 years they had. And it was all about how first and second round picks that's what succeeds in the NHL.
Yeah.
The vision was tons of picks. We're going to build a roster and win Stanley Cups. And, of course, that did not work. And they traded away Eichel and Reinhart and Ristolainen. And they had another set of so many first-round picks. 3 in the same draft. That's, Ostlund, Roseanne, and Savoy?
Yeah.
Is he that same year?
Yes.
Sorry if I'm mixing them all.
No, that's the right one. It goes Savoy, Ostlund, and Kulik.
Kulik, okay, sorry. And Roseanne was a different draft, right?
Yeah.
Kulik. And then Benson, and that's on top of Cousins. And it's just all these first-round picks, and you're thinking, all right, well, if they all grow up together and come along, you'll have an amazing team. And guess what? It, again, has not really happened. You have a bunch of good young prospects, and how many of them feel untouchable to you right now? Peterka would have been one that's a success story, and he might not want to sign long-term. So this idea of drafting guys and just loading up that way. It's the second time they've done that. And the flaw there is you're saving so many spots for young guys to grow into that we don't want any veterans. We don't want to block the development. How many times has that been said? We don't block the development of insert the guy's name here. So Robertson or Pettersson, or the idea of trying to load it up for Mitch Marner, who, by the way, finished 7th in the Selke voting.
Yeah. Well, he's received Selke votes every year for like 7 years.
Oh, I know. Just there it is again.
Yeah.
Noted defensive liability, Mitch Marner, who's 7th in the Selke.
Yeah.
Although I think they have changed the way that they kind of vote on that now. But whatever. The whole thing is just go do what it takes and stop falling in love with the young prospect bringing you along. Don't be one of the 5 youngest teams in the league. Try that on for size.
Yep. I like the idea. This is a little bit of Robertson. There's a little bit of Pettersson. There's a little bit of Marner even, too, even though I don't think they're getting him. I like the idea of targeting these type of players, these are elite players that are more under. Pettersson's a little different than this, but still kind of in the same bucket. They're all under the microscope right now, and they're maybe headed for a divorce with their teams because of the team success. Well, and even them letting their team down in the big moment. You know what I mean? Like being upset with where the team is at, so we've got to shake something up. And this guy, so Robertson this past playoff, he had 6 points in the playoffs. So you didn't show up in the playoffs. Marner was always under the microscope for that in Toronto. You're amazing, but you didn't show up in the playoffs. Pettersson, until this year, which was a different year because it was a crazy year for him, it was, this guy's awesome, where's the team success? That was Eichel and Reinhart.
Right.
And what I want the Sabres to be doing
the other end
is trying to reverse engineer what they did 5 years ago. And I've got 3 guys right here to different degrees are available to the Sabres. It would be stunning, amazing to me if they get one of these 3. They're not getting 2. But get me a guy like that where, hey, he's on the market not because he's not a good player, but because
they're mad at him.
They're mad at him because of a 10-game sample size in a round that you haven't been in 14 years. I'll worry about that when I get there.
The history of guys like that getting traded, that's Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton got traded because of that.
Sure. That's a really good one.
You bring up this one a lot. I don't know the Sabres have the piece to go the other way, but are the Stars thinking they have to make the Huberdeau trade? Hey, why do we keep capping out at this one spot? Let's do something different. I mean, teams panic like that. He's a great player, Robertson.
He's a great player too in his own end. Like he's a good defending player. I don't watch him enough to know like how physical he is. He's 6'3", so he's certainly bigger than like Peterka is. I don't know if he matches that with his physicality, but he's not like a one-dimensional offensive player. I see him as someone that I would think could kind of do everything.
803-0550. George in Buffalo is up. Hey, George. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I was on the call screener. I just don't. I mean, what's the origin story with J.J. Peterka potentially being on these trade blocks? I mean, he's such a good player, and it just makes no sense. I've never heard any kind of rumblings out of him being that, of course I don't know that stuff, but it's like for Robertson, it seems like you're basically trading for almost the same player if you give Peterka another couple of years. I mean, they're not that dissimilar from each other. It just seems like a lateral move that really, I think you need a little bit more beef, a little bit more hitting up and down the lines. But getting rid of Peterka is one of the silliest ideas I've ever heard of.
Well, I mean, to say that they're the same player, I mean, Peterka's got to go quite a long way to get there. He's got to be a multi 40 and 30 goal scorer, which
he also is way worse defensively.
Yeah,
if you care about that. But right, the goal scoring's not there either.
But the origin story, part of the origin story, and I've said this on the air a few times, that during the season, I had it told to me that I don't think Peterka is long for the Buffalo Sabres. And that was before any sort of trade deadline. It was just middle of the season. Someone I trust would know these kind of things told me, I'm not sure you should consider him. Basically what I came away with is like, don't buy the jersey yet, because I don't think he's a guarantee to stay. And whether that's something that Peterka wants different, or if the Sabres don't view him in the light of a guy that should be making $8 million, I don't think it's a coincidence his name is in trade talks, because I buy it.
And the thing that I'll add is, say what you want about Frank Saravelli and how credible you think he is from Daily Faceoff as an insider. He was not the only one that night before the trade deadline that said he was getting traded.
Yeah, Renaud Lavoie, right?
Renaud Lavoie from TVA in Canada, who is a credible insider, went at the same time Saravelli said it. Renaud Lavoie tweeted that night, everything indicates J.J. Peterka will be traded to the New York Rangers. That didn't happen, and maybe that was over-exaggerated. Somebody gave both of those guys from different media outlets the same information. The idea that he was getting dealt.
Yeah.
And they ran with it. So something was cooking that night. Maybe it wasn't ever going to finalize in a deal, but it's enough. There's enough smoke that I am willing to believe that he could be traded this summer. Not because even the Sabres want to do it, but maybe they're just, like you kind of said, maybe they just don't believe right now that he would sign a long-term deal with them.
Or he would, but they don't trust him. They don't trust him to be the maybe.
Is there an argument they should want to trade him?
Sure. I mean, if they can get something back that is worth it. Sure. I mean,
use him as the piece for this because he might be he might be your Huberdeau here. Huberdeau. He doesn't have the resume. Huberdeau was the all-time leading scorer for the Florida Panthers when they traded him.
Is a nice young player,
right? But what did the Panthers really do? In essence, was they traded a one-dimensional offensive dynamo and got back a two-way physical player that still scores a bunch of goals too.
And makes everybody mad and fights people.
Right. But like the idea of, well, this is more of a winning style of player.
Yep.
More complete player. What's Peterka? He's smaller, he's not physical, he's not good in his own end. He's a great player. And I think his value should extend beyond all of that. But if the Sabres think we need to become a more well-rounded team, we need to become better in our own end, and we want to move something valuable to do that, maybe they think Peterka is the style change that they need.
803-0550. I'm not bent on trading Peterka, but I think all the rumblings about it are legit, and it's very much on the table. Get more of your phone calls if you want here. Stick with us. Dave, Alex, if you can hang on, we'll have your calls on the other side. 803-0550. Jean-Luc Grandpierre, former Sabre and Blue Jackets analyst, coming up in an hour to tell us about Jarmo Kekalainen's time there in Columbus. It's Jeremy and Joe, 803-0550 on WGR. Defensive end, are they a little bit of, if we may borrow from the very often used thing for the receivers, aren't they? Everybody eats at defensive end to a degree.
Yeah.
They've signed guys.
Definitely. Who could lead them in sacks? How many players could lead them in sacks?
2.
That's it? I was going to say like 5 could lead them in sacks.
Who are the 5? Are you getting
Rousseau, Bosa, Ed Oliver?
Those were my 2. Ed Oliver, I would consider it.
I would consider it's possible. Maybe you're right. Because I wouldn't say like...
If you were about to throw Epinesa at me...
No.
I was going to say, he's been traded 100 times by Bills fans this offseason.
No, I wouldn't say Epinesa. I wouldn't say Michael Hoyt, right?
I'm okay, depending...
I wouldn't say like Larry Ogunjobi.
Yep.
I wouldn't say either of the rookies.
Right.
It's
possible.
All right, I might go to 3.
All right,
I might go to 3. I guess you're right, though. It's not as many as I thought in my mind that could be.
But it looks like a decent group. Maybe without any sort of single guy wrecking ball, but it looks pretty good. Steve in Niagara Falls to open things up this morning. Hey, Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. And again, one of the things I always thank you guys for is keeping us engaged with the Bills all year round when the season's not going on. So it's very, very thankful. It helps me get through the workday.
Yeah.
Regarding the Josh Allen not being on the Bills, or with what they would be without a year without Josh Allen, what their record would be with, say, Sam Darnold or a serviceable quarterback, all I could think about was the Drought Bills. That's probably where they would be. They always had pretty good defenses and decent weapons. I mean, on offense, I think back to Eric Mold, I think back to Peerless Price, to Lee Evans, to some of the receivers we've seen come through here, and I think about what would some of those drought team Bills records be with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And that might be something we've talked about before in the past, but I do try to think of, like, how good Eric Moulds would have been if he had Josh Allen throwing to him. He was already one of my favorite receivers to ever play for them, and I just imagine how much better he would have been if he had a QB like Josh Allen. So that takes into account, same thing with Elijah Moore, like, what's he going to be with Josh Allen now? So a lot of ways you can go with it, but I was just really thinking, like, certain teams back in the drought era, how good would they have been with Josh Allen under center? Mm-hmm. That's really all I got. I just want to hear your thoughts on it, guys. Thanks.
Stephen, before you hang up, I want to get your thought, because as you lay this out, I start typing out a question on Twitter that it might make people mad, but I'll ask it. Would Josh Allen have led any of the drought year Bills to the AFC Championship game?
I think about the years with, and one of the guys I always go back to is the linebacking core we had with London Fletcher and Theo Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nate Clements was on that team, and Winfield. And I do think that with Josh Allen under center, I think he could have pulled off a Super Bowl with some of those defenses we had. And that's just my personal opinion, but I think that they were good enough. They just needed that guy under center. And that's really how I feel about it.
Thanks, Steve. They won 9 games a bunch of time, right? Or no, sorry, 7 games. They're 7-9 3 straight years with Jaron.
They did win 9 twice, though, right?
That's
2004, right. And then
once with Marone when they got that cheesy win in New England. But
I think that's the team my mind went to immediately when he asked this question. Buffalo Bills OTAs get rolling again today. We will hear from Bobby Babich and also Joe Brady before practice. Practice at 11:30. We'll hear from them at 10:30 and 11. You can listen to that right here on WGR. Saquon Barkley on the Madden cover for 2026. It'll be the image of him jumping over a Jacksonville Jaguar. Ian Rappaport says the Patriots have no plans to release Stefan Diggs. Diggs was at Patriots OTAs yesterday. Ronald Darby retiring from the NFL. Bills' second-round pick in 2015 is done after a 10-year career. In hockey, Sportsnet's Rick Dewally reports that Stars forward Jason Robertson's name is out there in trade discussions. Still only 25 years old. KeyBank Center is going to host Game 2 of a 4-game series between the U.S. women's hockey team and the Canadian women's hockey team. Tickets will go on sale on Thursday. The game is November 8th. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating your 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Tossed in once again by the Oilers. Podkolzin pursues. Finishes the hit. Lob back to the blue line. Gloved by Ekholm. Robertson is on it. Dallas in the zone. Rantanen hauled down. No call. Robertson picks up a loose puck and stashes it home on the backhand to make it 2-0 Dallas.
Jason Robertson said to be potentially available via trade. He's a great player for the Stars who keep banging their head against the wall, the ceiling of the Western Conference Final.
I'm loving this idea. There is one last element of it that we did not mention in the last segment.
He does not have trade protection, by the way, which allows us to talk about this.
That's right. No trade protection. How afraid do we think Kevin Adams would be at spending all of that to get a player that is 2 years away from being able to leave for nothing? He's got 1 year left. This year, 7.7. Then he's an RFA. So you can't leave then. Mm-hmm. But he'll be able to do hey, next year I can leave. How afraid will they? I feel like this is maybe why Jarmo Kekalainen is here. There were actions in Columbus by him that would indicate he would say, bleep it, I'm going to figure it out once he's here.
Yep.
And Adams has been more, I would think, more timid to, I'm just thinking of Reinhart. This was the Reinhart situation, right? Although he was 1 year away from being able to leave.
Yep.
Maybe less likely
so
to acquire a player.
2 years at minimum.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years minimum if you wanted him.
And if you feel like it didn't go well, you could trade him at the deadline, right? Just like
in almost 2 years.
In year two of that, yeah. Here's how it's going to work out. Jason Robertson is an American. Tage is an American. The U.S. is about to go win gold at the Olympics. They're going to do it as teammates and build the next great American-based hockey team in Buffalo. There you go. How do you like that plan?
I love that.
And Jack's going to return.
Jack's going to be the center.
No.
Oh, he's going to do the LeBron. Remember LeBron went back, I'm coming home on Sports Illustrated? Just Eichel on Sports Illustrated, I'm coming home.
Let's get stupid. Eichel pens
but this is home,
a
not
Players
Boston.
Tribune, I'm coming home, and it's the Sabres.
Yeah. I did it in Vegas, but
unfinished business.
I got to do it here.
All right. That's funny. 803-0550, Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Thanks for joining us today. There's also chatter that Peter DeBoer could be fired by the Stars. David Pagnotta, the fourth period, saying that players do not like what he did at the end of the season. Pulling the good goalie because he gave up a breakaway and a power play goal in a game that wasn't over and, then threw his goalie under the bus. It's strange that the players didn't like that. I thought it was one of the most insane things I've ever seen watching sports.
Yeah. Plus the video of him skating back to his net and hey, Jake, get back here. I don't know.
Right,
he is a very good coach. So
he is.
I don't know that I'd want to run him off, but he kind of made it tough. He's got to repair his relationship with his goalie that's under contract till 2033.
I would just move on. Who cares? There are other good coaches. Alex in New York City. Hey, Alex.
Hey, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Thanks for having me on. Don't know what it is, first-time caller, but my heart rate skyrockets when I get on the line. It's like I'm in my first year of law school getting cold called again.
All right. Well, it's just us, so, we're good.
I know. Thanks, boys. I appreciate it. So over Memorial Day, guess what I did?
What'd you do?
Went back through all the Sabres podcasts I listened to. Started at the beginning of the 14-game losing streak and listened all the way through, and it was great entertainment. I don't know what that says about me, but I had an amazing time.
All right.
Now, one thing, I don't want to, not trying to trick anyone here, but when do you think the press conference was in that losing streak? I think it's easy to forget.
It is easy to forget. I remember when Pegula flew to Montreal and then they lost 6-1 the next day. Was that was after the press conference?
That was after the press conference. The press conference was after the Colorado loss. Only 4 games in.
Yeah.
At that point, we were still ahead of Montreal for a playoff spot. So I want to talk about Kevin Adams because part of the reason we're upset is because he didn't do anything during that period. And that sink our season, right?
Yep.
But it's not just that for me. It's that he actively hurt our team. He went out and belittled our own city. Like he took a poop on Buffalo. He's from here. Mm-hmm. Players saw that. They were commenting on Instagram posts like, what do you think that did for morale in the middle of a 4-game losing streak? You have to have Terry Pegula, the best motivational speaker in the world, come out and speak to these guys. Guess what that did? You already said. So I'm just frustrated. I'm really frustrated. In the Fairburn article that came out yesterday, I love Matt Fairburn. He said he sat down with Kevin Adams for 1 hour and 10 minutes. Yet all we got were like 3 or 4 of the same defensive, condescending sound bites from him. And it's like he's tone deaf. And it's because I care about this team. And I don't think that he does. I don't think that the Sabres do. And it just makes me so upset. I'm just one guy. I'm one little guy. But we're a fan base, and we matter. And he doesn't listen, and he condescends, and I just want him to be better. Now, I'm not calling for his job right now. That's over and done with. We have Kekalainen in. My thing, though, is that like the Sabres, their goal for the past 5 years, it feels like it's just been to like sneak into the playoffs, and that's been good enough. How about we aim a little higher? Like, let's aim a little higher. Let's actually go for those cups, Terry. Let's go for those cups that you were talking about, and then maybe we'll make the playoffs. So maybe you guys could talk about that a little more. It can be a bit more positive, but like let's go get Robertson. I don't know, Peterka, Byram in a first for Robinson.
Yeah,
Robertson. Maybe I don't know, but I just want to see this team aim a little higher, and I want Kevin to treat the fan base with a little bit more respect and decency and accountability. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, Alex. You know, it is just like looking at NHL conversations. That palm trees thing was. I mean, it went pretty widespread around the NHL. I didn't remember that it was 4 games in a losing streak. But here we have a Stanley Cup final between Palm Trees and Edmonton. Yeah. Edmonton's there.
Edmonton is there.
Here you have a Stanley Cup final between no income tax and Canada. You know, so like some of these narratives that have surrounded the Panthers' success, Edmonton's killing that. Winnipeg's killing that. You've got plenty of teams that are able to succeed. You know, thinking about the low bar of the playoffs and trying to shoot higher and win the cup, I might even entertain the idea that trying to shoot higher than what they really realistically should has been part of the problem. You know, 10 years back to the tank, the idea was getting great players that you can build around, that you can be a great team with. And they were so bad at building around them, they never were. And then it became about picks. We're not in a position to sign this guy. This guy's too old for us. And everything became about this longer vision. That's one of the things that's in the article from Matthew Fairburn in The Athletic about the vision, that the Terry Pegula has a vision. And when they fired Botterill, we felt our vision wasn't being met. This vision. And they just stay young. And finally, you know, Granato wanted older players. Granato knew the value of veteran guys. And now we've seen them bring in some, and they've been good enough. They've rated instead of just being guys, you know, like Eric Johnson on a retirement tour. So I'm not going to poo-poo shooting for 7th. I think it's tremendous, and they should do everything they can to finish in 7th place. 7th place, it's terrible, but it's reality. 7th is my cup. Right now. That's what Jarmo and Kevin Adams should be doing, is saying 7th is the cup. That's what I want you to prepare for. Work like that. We're giving up that much for Jason Robertson, it'll get us to 7th. That's the cup right now. 7th is the cup. And when you win that cup, and I mentioned earlier, it's like promotion and relegation. They need to get promoted. They need to get promoted.
You can't win the league until you get promoted.
Yes. Yeah. This idea that, like, what's that do for... Botterill used to be like this, like, we have a plan. Well, I don't care what your plan is. Your plan appears to stink. Your plan should be 7th. 3rd in the division, once. That's doable.
And what really irks me, and
Ottawa and Montreal just made it, both in the same year.
Yeah.
What's their long-term vision? Who cares? They did it. They did the thing.
And what really irks me is not this does rewind a bit, and it's looking in the past. But what irks me is the year they missed by 1, their vision wasn't that. It wasn't their cup wasn't to finish 7th. They acted like it was okay that they missed the playoffs that year. And their actions spoke to that because they didn't trade for a goaltender the whole year. And then the GM got mad at a reporter in the postseason press conference because the season was labeled as a failure. As maybe that was a little strong of a word to put on that season. But again, so defensive because that season was viewed as a success.
Right.
That it was okay that they had missed that year.
And they didn't want to
At least now they are acting different about it.
They didn't want to do too much because that might upset the plan.
And I do think that there wasn't enough respect given to the value of just making the playoffs that year.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you had been bounced in the first round by Boston because that regular season team was unbelievable, I think there would have been so much weight to the drought being over, your reputation around the league, not being viewed as this joke that has a 14-year playoff drought. Maybe it makes it easier to get players if you just... There was no respect given to making the playoffs that year, and they missed their best opportunity. And now they're still punching up, and maybe everything would be just a little bit easier had you made it that year.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. If you'd like to join us, you can give us a call. It's Jeremy and Joe here on Tuesday morning. Jean-Luc Grandpierre at 8:30 to talk to us about Jarmo Kekalainen's time in Columbus. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll check in on the Patriots, where it all appears to be just fine. Diggs at OTAs, working, running, the Patriots' pursuit of the Bills. We'll talk about that with Alex Barth, 98.5, the Sports Hub there in Boston. It's all coming up. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. So, Kekalainen, what is he provably going to do? That might be tough. But if he's just going to walk in the room and say to Kevin Adams, yeah, make that trade. What are you afraid of? Do it.
Yes, right. Like that's in my mind like his value.
Yeah.
Is Adams on the fence about any sort of big decision like that, and that this guy would be saying like, don't be afraid to do this deal. Pull the trigger. Come on, let's do it.
Jarmo Kekalainen, director of YOLO, is what this is. He basically is going to Kevin Adams and like, bro, what are we waiting for?
Yes,
let's make some trades.
Right.
All right. Even if that's true, that's probably the rosiest version of it.
That is definitely the most positive way of looking at this.
The flip side of that, or the other side of the coin on that would be, if true. And I think the most cynical way to look at it would be to say, wait a minute, so you're telling me that they hired a person to tell the GM when to actually pull the trigger? Why does anybody need someone to tell them to do that? Like, that'd be the cynical side, to say, why does he need help with that? He's had the job for 6 years. Is it 6? Is it 7? I lose track of how many years it is.
This will be year 6.
Year 6, okay.
This will be year 6.
Year 6. He's had the job for 6 years. And at this point, he's a senior GM. He's one of the longest tenured GMs in the league. I mean, whatever. He's had the job. The idea that he needs someone to hold his hand, again, this is the most cynical view of it, is a bit of a sell. Either way, I think it's fine. A guy with experience, a guy that's been in the league, does it matter that he's Finnish? Is there some sort of, they want maybe more international flavor? Who knows, right? These relationships, I think about relationships like this all the time, because when Ralph Kruger was hired, okay, his players loved him. They wanted to go that direction. Of course, he was not a very good coach, but he had players that really respected him, and they felt like he was loved by players, and he was up until the day he got fired. So do they want someone that carries a level of, oh, yeah, I know Jarmo. Jarmo's a name in the league. He has been a name in the league for quite some time. Mm-hmm. I think he was given plenty of credit for what happened in Columbus. You painted the picture of it being an imperfect market that he was respectable in, and I feel like
he made the playoffs 5 times.
I don't think it's a major problem for the Sabres to look at calling every team without a set, hey, here's who we would want from you. I actually think that might be less productive. Call all 31 GMs and tell them the player you'd like to trade for. And instead, it's like, let's chat,
Yeah.
Does Jarmo Kekalainen make one of these calls with someone that he used to work for? I mean,
yeah,
is that not call? Well, I can't call Florida. They're playing. But
yeah, I wonder if it graduates to that. The thing I wonder is, are they going to be... No one's coming and offering you their best players, I don't think. So you've got to be willing to give up something of substance if you want a Jason Robertson, or you want to revisit Elias Pettersson, or you want to do something like that. Like, I pulled up Frank Saravelli's trade board, the clip we just came in with. His trade board, or Daily Faceoff's collective trade board, There are some big names on here. 2 of the top 4, though, are Sabres. Peterka and Byram.
Yeah.
So, and one of those, I think, is a much more expensive and a much bigger decision than the other. Like, Byram, I can't imagine plays another game for this team. And I also don't feel like he's worth a crazy amount. Peterka is a decision. Like, how do you want to navigate that? You still have control for multiple years. But if you want to do this shakeup, and there are these star players out there, you're trading a 23-year-old, but doesn't trading a 23-year-old for a 25, 26-year-old sound like a good idea?
Sure. He's definitely not too old to worry about this. I mean, it's not a guy that's 30. Stanley Cup Final starts tomorrow. NBA Finals on Thursday. Max Homa at a U.S. Open qualifier carried his own bag 36 holes and then into playoffs.
Yeah.
He had some cool stuff to say about it, too. So there's a story that he and his caddy have split. So that's a part of this. He split with his caddy, then carried his own bag, and played well.
Mm-hmm.
And said that maybe being out there by himself helped.
Yeah. But he did fall just short.
He did.
So he did not qualify for the U.S. Open. So
he lost on a second playoff hole. There were multiple playoff holes, and he did not make it.
Yes. He's been struggling a lot for
Well, if he felt like he played better, should he just not have a caddy and carry his own bag?
When you wear down more?
Yeah.
There's a lot of golf.
36, and he played more than 36 in the day.
Yeah.
So
those are big bags too. Those are like big cart bags, right?
Yeah.
Although, is it legal? Could he use one of the smaller?
That's a great question.
Like carrying bags? I've never seen one of those on the tour in my life.
Have you ever been to a course where they have caddies? This happened for us this last weekend, and the caddies take your bag and they're like, "We're gonna swap this out," and they get their own course's bag.
No.
That's a lot lighter. Your clubs will go in. They'll be like, you don't need 24 balls. You don't need this. You don't need this. And they strip your bag down because they're the ones carrying it for 18 holes.
I've never had that happen.
That'll happen.
Basically, they did an inventory of your bag.
Yes.
Before.
And took a bunch of stuff out.
Yeah. And if the bag itself was too heavy, they would give you a different bag.
Yep.
And then they would just hold on to your bag.
They have a stock lighter bag that they'll put your stuff in, and they'll carry that instead.
Okay, and put all your clubs in there, and then change it out after. No, I've never seen that in my life. Maybe it makes sense though.
Yeah,
if they're carrying it, whatever makes them the most comfortable, I would think.
Walking a course with somebody else carrying your bag is like being on the PGA Tour. It makes you feel you're just walking up the fairway. It makes you feel. It doesn't matter if you hit a good shot or a bad shot or you're in the rough. Doesn't matter. Just walking down the middle of the fairway. Somebody else has your bag.
Right. But walking down the fairway without carrying anything at all. I felt that way at Bethpage, and I was carrying my bag. And I'm like, look at this. We're on the tour right now, and I had a giant backpack of a golf bag on my back. That would probably be pretty cool.
803-0550 is our phone number, and 1-888-550-2550. We've had some Bills today, some Sabres today, some NHL stuff. Final begins tomorrow, Edmonton and Florida. Rooting interest? What are we doing here?
Edmonton.
Yeah.
All in Edmonton.
Sure.
I don't hate Florida. I will not be upset if they win it. Which, it's kind of interesting that I have not arrived at hating them, because aren't they pretty easy to hate? Shouldn't they be? The way they play,
sure.
Kachuk is in Marchand on the team now, and I can't. I have a tough time. I think they have a lot of likable players. I love Barkov. I don't care about the market point about non-hockey market winning it. Well, I'm good. I don't care. The fact that they've only won one.
Yeah.
I'll get to a point, I'm sure, if they win 2 or 3 where I'll be like, all right, I'm sick of this, but not yet.
I'll tell you what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for what we started to get last year and never actually finished.
Yeah.
Which was McDavid to ascend to God mode.
Yes.
In that series, his points by game 0, 1, 2, 4, 4, 0, 0. He had no points in games 6 or 7.
And yet still won the Conn Smythe.
Right.
It's pretty wild.
Really, his series was in 7 games, he has doing the math, 11 points in 3 games. Sorry, 11 points in 4 games and 0 in the other 3.
Yeah. But if he has 3 games, if he turns those zeros into 2s,
maybe.
Which is possible.
Really, what they needed was him to kind of spread it out a little more. He had 4 points in the game. They won 8-1.
He's my rooting interest, too. I want to see him go nuclear. I want him to not have to deal with any BS in the future about him being, him being the best that never won one. You don't have a lot of that in hockey. There are not a lot of superstars in hockey that were supposed to win that didn't. I don't know who hockey's Dan Marino is. There might not be one. So him putting that to bed would be great. I'd be good with that. And also, I do like in sports now more and more when a guy just has a look in his eye where, this dude is intense. We had Tom Gazzola on last week from Edmonton, and I loved his one comment that we have not seen McDavid smile in 2 months. The dude is so locked in and intense right now. Remember that clip from the Amazon documentary last year where he's screaming at his teammates in the locker room during the finals? That dude is obsessed right now. He's a demon. I'm hoping that he goes off.
803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. Sorry, Jeremy and Joe. Go to getmyperks.com to get the VIP golf card, the WGR VIP golf card. There is still time to grab this, and there aren't that many left. So getmyperks.com, the VIP golf card that gets you 8 great items for your golf lover in your life, whether that's you or something for Father's Day. You've got time. There's 18 at Shamrock Hills, Atticus 10th Hole and Course, Diamond Hawk, Destroyer Park Golf, a box of Vero X1s, an hour at Golf Dojo, Rick's are at Golf Warehouse, $25 gift certificate there. So lots and lots that you can get with the WGR VIP golf card. Go to getmyperks.com, grab that, and hit some of those courses. Jeremy and Joe, more of your phone calls on the other side as we keep rolling. Jean-Luc Grandpierre on Yarmo coming up at 8:30. I don't think it's a major problem for the Sabres to look at calling every team without a set, hey, here's who we would want from you. I actually think that might be less productive. Call all 31 GMs and tell them the player you'd like to trade for. Instead, it's let's chat,
Yeah.
Let's does Jarmo Kekalainen make one of these calls with someone that he used to work for? I mean,
yeah.
Is that not call? Well, I can't call Florida. They're playing. But...
yeah, I wonder if it graduates to that. The thing I wonder is, are they going to be... no one's coming and offering you their best players, I don't think. So you've got to be willing to give up something of substance if you want a Jason Robertson, or you want to revisit Elias Pettersson, or you want to do something like that. I pulled up Frank Saravelli's trade board, the clip we just came in with. His trade board, or Daily Faceoff's collective trade board. There are some big names on here. 2 of the top 4, though, are Sabres. Peterka and Byram.
Yeah.
So, and one of those, I think, is a much more expensive and a much bigger decision than the other. Byram, I can't imagine plays another game for this team. And I also don't feel like he's worth a crazy amount. Peterka is a decision. Like, how do you want to navigate that? You still have control for multiple years. But if you want to do this shakeup, and there are these star players out there, you're trading a 23-year-old, but doesn't trading a 23-year-old for a 25, 26-year-old sound like a good idea?
Sure. He's definitely not too old to worry about this. I mean, it's not a guy that's 30. Steve in Niagara Falls to open things up this morning. Hey, Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. And again, one of the things I always thank you guys for is keeping us engaged with the Bills all year round when the season's not going on. So it's very, very thankful. It helps me get through the workday.
Yeah.
Regarding the Josh Allen not being on the Bills, or with what they would be without a year without Josh Allen, what their record would be with, say, Sam Darnold or a serviceable quarterback. All I could think about was the Drought Bills. That's probably where they would be. They always had pretty good defenses and decent weapons. I mean, on offense, I think back to Eric Mold, I think back to Peerless Price, to Lee Evans, to some of the receivers we've seen come through here. And I think about what would some of those Drought Team Bills records be with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And that might be something we've talked about before in the past, but I do try to think of, how good Eric Mold would have been if he had Josh Allen throwing to him. He was already one of my favorite receivers to ever play for them. And I just imagine how much better he would have been if he had a QB like Josh Allen. So that takes into account, same thing with Elijah Moore. What's he going to be with Josh Allen now? So a lot of ways you can go with it, but I was just really thinking, certain teams back in the Drought era, how good would they have been with Josh Allen under center? Mm-hmm. That's really all I got. I just want to hear your thoughts on it, guys. Thanks.
Steven, before you hang up, I want to get your thought, because as you lay this out, I start typing out a question on Twitter that it might make people mad, but I'll ask it. Would Josh Allen have led any of the Drought year Bills to the AFC Championship game?
I think about the years with, and one of the guys I always go back to is the linebacking core we had with London Fletcher and Steel Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nate Clements was on that team, and Winfield. And I do think that with Josh Allen under center, I think he could have pulled off a Super Bowl with some of those defenses we had. And that's just my personal opinion, but I think that they were good enough. They just needed that guy under center. And that's really how I feel about it.
Thanks, Steve. They won 9 games a bunch of time, right? Or no, sorry, 7 games. They're 7-9 3 straight years with Giron.
They did win 9 twice, though, right?
That's
2004, right. And then
once with Marone when they got that cheesy win in New England. But
I think that's the team my mind went to immediately when he asked this question. Bills OTAs kick back up today at 11:30. That's when practice is. Bobby Babich is going to speak with the media at 10:30. Bills defensive coordinator. Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady speaking at 11. We'll carry both live here on WGR. All-Pro center with the Detroit Lions, Frank Ragnow, is announcing his retirement from the NFL at just 29 years old, citing his body and health reasons for retirement. So his career is over. As is Ronald Darby's. He retires from the NFL at 31 years old, 10-year career, which began with the Bills' second-round pick in 2015. to hockey. Sportsnet's Rick Dewally reports that Stars forward Jason Robertson's name has been out there in trade discussions since the Stars got eliminated last week. Robertson's only 25 years old, has averaged 37 goals per year over the last 4 seasons. November 8th, KeyBank Center is going to host Game 2 of a 4-game series between the U.S. and Canada in women's hockey. Tickets go on sale on Thursday. Coverage tomorrow is the Stanley Cup Final. Wednesday night, we'll carry it live here on WGR. 8 o'clock puck drop between the Oilers and the Panthers. Coverage of the Stanley Cup Final and WGR is presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Obviously wasn't expecting that to happen, but it was surprising. But the reality is if, I make 1 or 2 of those saves, then I'm still playing in the game. So the way I'm looking at it is how can I get better from that? How can I make those saves that I made all playoffs? How do I make them in that game at the start of the game? Give the guys a chance to get their feet under them. And as a goalie, that's your job. So I got to do better than that.
Jake Ottinger, he and the Stars sitting at home. David Pagnotta, fourth period, said noise out of Dallas on Peter DeBoer is, per multiple sources, players are not pleased with how he handled several situations during the Western Conference Final, along with post-game 5 and exit media remarks told players voiced concerns during internal exit interviews. DeBoer has 1 year left on his contract.
Here is Peter DeBoer's last 8 seasons as a head coach. Lost in conference finals, fired, lost in conference finals, lost in conference finals, missed the playoffs, lost in conference finals, lost in conference finals, lost in conference finals.
He is perfect in games 7, though, in his entire career.
Which is kind of amazing, then, that he's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conference finals. I guess none of them ever went.
Don't let him get you to 7. Don't let him get you to 7.
One of those conference finals, by the way, was to Montreal. Remember when? What a crazy time it was in sports when the Golden Knights and the Canadiens met in the conference finals.
Yeah, I do not remember that at all.
Remember, they made the Cup.
Yeah.
They beat Vegas to get there.
Right, Montreal won the Canada Division.
They won the Canada Division, and then somehow the format was that they got to play Vegas before reaching the finals, where they played Tampa.
All right. 803-0550. We talked a little bit about Jason Robertson as an idea as the Sabres offseason. It's getting started. There's chatter that Robertson could be maybe on the way out of Dallas. He's a star player. He's an amazing player. He's a great two-way wing who is under contract and has no trade protection. So that's one of the reasons we kind of brought him up as an idea. We'll talk with Jean-Luc Grandpierre about Jarmo Kekalainen coming up at 8:30. We also had a caller earlier today ask about the Drought Bills and if Allen would have taken that team to the playoffs or how they would have done. And we took it one further. Would Allen have made an AFC Championship game in any one of the drought years?
Yeah.
If he's the quarterback. And 87% have voted yes.
I'm most curious about which team people have been picking. And the ones I've seen, I picked 14. There's been a lot of 04, right? Because of the defense then.
04 was the year where Aaron Schatz of Football Outsiders at the time said that's the best non-playoff team in league history. Everybody that's ever missed the playoffs, that was the best team.
Yep, they got hot down the stretch. Those are the ones I've seen the most. That those teams would have made it. They were talented enough. They would have been talented enough around him. And I don't know, Josh Allen is he not capable of getting hot in any playoff run with no matter how
Yep.
I don't want to say no matter how bad his roster is, but couldn't he have a pretty poor roster and he gets hot for a couple games and they make it anyway?
Sure.
So I feel like any of those years, honestly. Is there a team where you would think no chance?
That the Bills had?
There was ever a drought team where no matter how good Josh Allen is, there was no chance. That team wasn't doing it. Or is he so good that you wouldn't say that about anybody?
And you wouldn't want to write him off at all, right?
The worst Bills team of the drought is probably...
They finished 4-12 with Fitz, but they started 0-8.
0-8.
And they finished hot.
Right.
803-0550. We'll get some calls in here. If you want to jump in, we'll be happy to have you. Jerry and Kenmore is up. Hey, Jerry, good morning.
Good morning. Quickly before my point, I want to talk about carrying a golf bag. when I was much younger, we all carried. We were pretty good players, the four guys I used to play, the three other guys I used to play with. And we played this game called Carry the Bag. And the game was this. If you hit first off the tee, had the honor, the person that hit fourth carried your bag.
Oh, wow.
By your hole.
I love everything about this.
Yeah, you're fighting to stay in that one spot, and you're fighting to get out of that four spot as you're getting more and more tired. It is an outstanding game. It's the greatest game we ever played as kids.
I'm so sad to have learned this game at age 45 because I want to go back in time and play this game for 20 years. So the guy who has the honor is getting caddied by the player who has finished fourth in the honors. You can go from fourth to third, right? You have to go to the top.
You can go fourth to third.
Oh, what a game! I would love to play
this.
Wait,
but you're saying whoever's in first, that's whose bag is getting carried.
Yes, by the player in fourth.
So I want to be in first.
Yes,
second and third is fine, but
second and third is fine. And if you're fourth, you're carrying two bags.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, what's outstanding is on an afternoon when it's 88 degrees doing this, it is just it's the greatest game ever because you want to keep that guy in. You could carry you like that you're not carrying.
Sure.
But the real joke is the guy carrying too because then you try and hit it on the other side of the fairway maybe or you know.
I could just see it. I could see it happen. You got a big uphill par 5 coming up on the next hole, and somebody hooks their drive out of bounds. You're like, oh, looks like you're going to be hoofing it up that one with two bags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to know how we're going to feel in 2 weeks if Eichel and McDavid will have a Stanley Cup in the same time period we never played a playoff game. You know, it was such a big. You know, we thought we could get both of them if the Islanders draw on that day fell right.
Yeah, there was a time.
I think that's one of the main reasons I can't have Edmonton win.
Yeah, I mean, I guess each person will have their own feeling about it. I won't feel any different because, to the chagrin of many, I already feel completely validated.
Yeah,
completely. That was, of course, the right thing to do. It was, of course, the best decision for the franchise. I already feel that. I mean, Eichel did win a cup. He's basically a centerpiece of a great team. He finished 5th in the Selke this year.
Yep.
Reinhardt's up there, too. You know, I feel angry at the Sabres for blowing what was an incredible buffet of incredible players that they miraculously couldn't put together. But would never be mad at McDavid, and I feel validated. I feel like what they did was obviously 10 years later,
right? Definitely
the right thing to do.
Right. The concept was there are two centers that are good enough to be your number one center and win the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Fair, close enough?
And
they're good enough to lead you as the top player on your team to winning the Stanley Cup. One's done it, and it was the one that was here, and the other one, even though he hasn't done it yet, we obviously know he's good enough to do it, and probably will at some point.
And the other part of it was, you'll never get a player like this unless you do that. Right. And I feel like that remains true also. So, without relitigating the whole thing, they were a horrendous team. And we knew they were going to be horrendous, and they're like, don't finish 28th.
Yeah.
So I feel fully like it was great.
I guess it will. I don't think it will hit any different, but right, you'll be able to sit there, and if McDavid wins in 2 weeks, it will feel crazy that. Right, the tank 10 years ago was I need to guarantee I get one of these two players, and have that be successful, and still. And 10 years later, they've both won a cup and you haven't. Somehow.
Yep.
You won that race. You guarantee yourself one of the two. Those two have cups. You don't. I don't think it'll hit any different, though, because about that specifically, I'm kind of already dead inside about it all. Like, Eichel's been gone for 5 years now. Right? Isn't it coming up on 5 years he's been gone?
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yep.
It's basically ancient history. So... And the McDavid spoils, I don't know. The bitterness about him not being a Buffalo Sabre, I never really had it. Because, the draft drills back then, and, I guess Tim Murray didn't do that, but I resigned myself to he wasn't going to be a Sabre even before that lottery happened, until the lottery started, and then I thought, okay,
Maybe.
I want this to happen. And then I was pretty quick back to, I didn't think that was going to happen anyway.
The other question,
So I'm good.
And this comes up a lot. And again, like, you can feel however you want to feel about it, but the question that comes up, especially if he wins, if we had won that lottery, would it have been different? Because McDavid's definitely a better player, but
Yes.
I don't like to say yes because I feel like that takes them off the hook for how bad they've managed this. Really. Oh, you need the best player of all time, arguably, to maintain a credible product. Like, it just this thing over here wasn't good enough. I think not only this thing, you had Reinhart too. Like, you had all these pieces. So to say, what if they had won the lottery? Would they have had a better outcome? Probably. But that it always makes me uncomfortable because it sounds like that it was a coin toss. They just lost a drawing, and that's not real. I mean, they won a couple others. They won the Dahlin lottery. Dahlin was supposed to be the McDavid of defensemen, right? He's supposed to be the generational, and he's great. But what have they turned that into?
They never finished within 15 points of the playoffs with Eichel. Like, McDavid's a better player by a lot. Is he making up 15 points? That's only one of those years.
Right.
They were so bad at everything else that I think they probably would have got in. I don't think it's right to assume McDavid would have just left. I don't. I don't think you could. That's right. In Edmonton though did make the conference finals once, and they made the playoffs one other time before I think he ended up re-signing. And as bad as Edmonton was building around him, the Sabres were worse. And I really don't think you can assume that had the Sabres won that lottery, that McDavid, after 7 years, would have done the same thing Eichel did and just hit the eject button. I think he very well could have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, maybe. 803-0550. Ron and Alden. Hey, Ron, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I can't... We've had Adams all these years. I don't understand why, okay, we drafted Reinhart, then we drafted Eichel the next year, and then all those trades happened for O'Reilly and all. Remember that? It was just like, oh, that was the greatest summer ever. Like, we just all of a sudden built a team. And, yeah, we didn't make the playoffs that year or two. We were close. We were in the 80 points. I don't understand why we gave up on Murray so fast, and now we're holding on to Adams for so long. My memory can't, I don't know what happened after those 2 years by we hit the eject button on Murray so fast. I just don't know what happened there. If you could just remind me, why did we give up on Murray so fast? Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Like the inside of that, like what happened with Murray, I don't think they really trusted him to. I thought he made them. They might have thought he was a little bit like Rex. He's making us look bad.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my best.
I think
political answer to that.
There was probably more with him than others about. There were more layers than just what you saw on the ice, right? Working relationships and, how much he cared about the farm system, if you care about that. I don't think you really did. So I think there was probably more to it than what you just saw on the ice. And did he want to fire the coach? Bilesma got fired.
Mm-hmm.
Did he want to do it? Did he lose his job over that? I don't know. I will attribute his failure to the man did not respect the defenseman at all.
Right.
They just Risto's going to play 30 minutes a night for us. George is just
hold on. You got to chalk up a win on him for Kulikov. Role player for a cup team. Is Tim Murray out there?
Of all the what ifs I've thought about the Buffalo Sabres, I never thought, what if Kulikov didn't slam his back on an open door in the preseason?
Is Tim Murray out there spiking the football on Kulikov today? Told you. That was that trade Mark Pesic
Kulikov, and they moved up in round 2 to get Asplund.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't work in hockey anymore, right? Murray, I've never seen his name.
I think he works as in an agency.
Okay. Does he sit at home with his buddies and watch hockey on a weekly basis, and every time there's a playoff game on, just go, yep, that was my guy. I mean, that was my guy.
Let's
that
extend
was
it
my
further.
guy. You see that guy Erod we used to call him. That dude's awesome. I signed him. I gave him his first crack at the NHL. Look at him go. He's on the top line of the Stanley Cup champion.
Who's the number one guy?
And that's like the 7th most famous player that he invested in.
There's another one that's still playing that you didn't really mention.
Who?
One of the first guys I think of when I think of who Tim Murray's guy was. This was his guy.
And it's not Eichel or Reinhart.
Nope. Still playing.
He's playing in this series?
Yep.
It's not Skinner. Who's playing in this? It's not
Owen?
Kulikov? I don't know.
Kane.
Oh, right, duh.
Like, really think about this for a second.
Yeah.
This series has every Sabre alive for the second straight year. They added Skinner. These two teams will meet next year. Who's going to be on the team? Who? Peterka's going to get traded.
I don't know if anyone's left. Oh, right. Right. It would be guys off the team now.
No, he's too young. It'll
Peterka.
be Tuck. It'll be...
Oh, don't do that to me.
Sorry.
Yeah, that would hurt.
It is It remains like I love
1 year left on the contract.
I love that we all kind of know it to be true, and it's like, it's a lot of Sabres. Imagine you're telling someone for the first time. So, you know any of these players? Yeah, a couple of them used to be Sabres. Oh, which ones? That one, 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 and that one, and that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and that guy too.
All right.
It's truly incredible.
Kane's played 91 playoff games since he left the Sabres.
Since leaving.
He's like he's the playoff built player.
He's also
he led the
like,
playoffs in goals in 2022. He had 13 goals in 15 games.
He's a monster. He's a giant monster.
He has had falling outs with other franchises in between, right?
Well, I mean, he's only been on 2 franchises. He played for San Jose for 4 years, and this is his 4th year in Edmonton.
Right. San Jose
has been drama.
The San Jose thing got ugly.
Yeah, that's right. And there was drama even a little bit with Edmonton this year, wasn't there? I don't know. But yeah, it's only 2 organizations in 8 years since he left. And he's not even in my... I forget he was a Sabre.
Yeah.
How long was he a Sabre for? He's played 91 playoff games. How many games? Oh, I guess he played 200 games for the Sabres. It's more than I thought.
He scored the first ever goal I saw called back on an offside review.
Oh, Game 1, 2015.
Yep. Good times.
I'm just saying, Murray, he would watch hockey every year and go, all of these players that are winning were guys that I brought here to build this. But again, the one missing element of this, none of them were defensemen.
Right. And
the one defenseman that he did invest in, that he kept sticking around and standing by, is the only Sabre that will never make the playoffs, and that's Risto.
The chat pointing out Robin Lehner was also his guy. That's also true.
Robin Lehner went to the finals.
Right. And Robin Lehner won a Jennings.
I think he finished 3rd in the Vezina and won the Jennings twice.
Yes. He was on that Jennings pairing 2 times and was close to a Vezina that 1 year.
Right.
Also worth pointing out here, like the guys that Murray did get right that we're saying are his guys, like it's not that hard when they're all top 10 rated players. Ooh, you drafted Eichel. Ooh, you liked Reinhart.
Yeah.
Kane. He's a top 10 picks.
Well, he did.
So it's not like he's finding diamonds in the rough out there.
That does make the blow a little softer when you're thinking about all these guys, that they were all such highly touted. Like, it wasn't diamonds in the rough, like you said. Like it was a lot of guys that should be pretty good, and they never were. I mean, they were good here, but they never worked together here, and that's on the GM too. Like
it's truly incredible.
You would easily be able to say O'Reilly and Kane were his guys, though. He made big swings, overspent on at least Kane to get them. So Leonard.
I don't think he overspent on Kane. What did he give up?
Like 7 things.
He gave up Joel Armia, Tyler Myers,
Brendan Lemieux,
and a first. What turned out to be good? Armia did not.
Myers
has had a long career.
So, I mean, he has.
Yeah, he's still in the league, isn't he?
Yeah. No. What's he done?
I'm not saying he's great.
Yeah, he's not great, but he's a middle.
That's one of those quantity quality players. Like now, who had the better career? I mean, Myers. You're right. Myers played forever.
No, you're right. Armia is still in the league, but his career high is 30 points.
Yeah.
So
Armia is not much of anything. Myers would be
whatever.
Who's going to win?
I think Edmonton's going to do it.
You're going to back Stuart Skinner.
You think he's going to last through 7?
I think I talked about this a little bit on Saturday. I think he's got the gas tanks full of confidence for him, and it can drain very fast, as we've seen. But I think when you know all you got to do is be one save better than the other guy because you got two of the best players on the planet on your team, I think he can get it done this year. I do. I just think McDavid's undeniable. I have a feeling he's going to score like 3 points a game in this series. I think it's going to be ridiculous.
I'm trying to remember how last series went. Other than, the Panthers ran them over. Did they ever just win the first 3 games? I really want to go back and look at the scores too of those games.
I think it was bad. Like
Florida got out to a 3-0 lead. We all thought it was going to be over,
and then Edmonton just
rattles off 4 in a row.
The McDavid freaked out in the locker room, and
I feel like I give the edge to Florida because Florida.
I love them. I think that they're a better team, but I just think McDavid will overcome it.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. The 2 things for Edmonton that scare me is 1, they lost Zach Hyman for the series, and that's, I think, a very critical loss.
Yeah.
And 2, I have way more trust that Bobrovsky is going to go through a whole series without screwing up than Skinner is.
Yeah, 100%.
Skinner could lose his team a game or 2.
Yeah,
and
Bob will,
that margin for error gets me to Florida.
I also don't like how much rest there is for Bobrovsky specifically. That plays to his strength. He always plays better off rest, and there's breaks in between games, and that really helps him.
We got to hit a break, get to Jean-Luc Grandpierre, but very quickly, Bobrovsky is one of these athletes that has completely shed the can't perform in the big moment.
Yeah, he had it for a while.
Dropped it.
He had that forever, and you just put a great team in front of him, and 3 years in a row now, he's just, he won't be remembered for that. Will he? I don't think he'll be remembered for he couldn't do it. He won a cup. He might win another one. 4 playoffs in a row with at least a .906 save percentage. And the other 3 is all above .911. So
that's
Cup final gets started tomorrow night from Edmonton. Jeremy and Joe, good morning, everybody. Jean-Luc Grandpierre, former Buffalo Sabre and current Blue Jackets analyst, on Jarmo Kekalainen, his time in Columbus. How is it remembered? What was he like as a GM, and what can he maybe bring to this front office? We'll get his opinion on that coming up here on WGR. Paul Hamilton at 7 o'clock on the Sabres' hire of Jarmo Kekalainen, which happened on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And what time on Friday? Were you still here?
No, it was after we were gone. It was during the Extra Point show, I believe.
All right.
It happened.
So this is our first chance, both of us, to really kick around this idea on the air here of Jarmo Kekalainen, which is, as a hiring, should I have the official title here? I probably should get this.
Senior advisor,
okay.
Yep.
So they've hired a senior advisor and a special assistant. Basically, Kevin Adams with Jarmo Kekalainen and Eric Stahl has other bodies, other minds to discuss things about how they're going to do whatever, everything they do with the team, how they're going to move forward, their sounding boards, or they give feedback, or they make decisions. They can be part of a group think more idea. And I think that's good. Without going any further, more minds, more people that have knowledge of the game being in there is probably good, right? That's an easy one. The question from there is, will it be any different? Will anything really provably be different, and could anybody have expected anything better than what they did, realistically?
I don't think you could have. They tried. It sounded like they tried, right?
It sounded like they tried.
They wanted to talk to Lou Lamoriello. Maybe they did talk to these guys, but they couldn't get them to do the job. Lou Lamoriello, Ken Holland, whoever else they might have talked to.
Ken Holland, who took a GM job.
Right.
So probably wasn't ever going to consider a job where he's just an advisor.
You're not in the ball game with a guy like that if he's thinking he can get a job like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Lamoriello, you thought you could get in it because he's 84 or whatever he is, and probably thinking he can't get another GM job, but that he came here for his Nexus interview, and then that was it. This was better than I thought they would have been able to do for this role. And there could be influence on how Kevin Adams does his job from this individual.
So Kekalainen, what is he provably going to do? That might be tough. But if he's just going to walk in the room and say to Kevin Adams, yeah, make that trade. What are you afraid of? Do it.
Yes, right. Like that's in my mind like his value.
Yeah.
Is Adams is on the fence about any sort of big decision like that, and that this guy, would be saying like, don't be afraid to do this deal. Pull the trigger. Come on, let's do it.
Jarmo Kekalainen, director of YOLO, is what this is. He basically is going to Kevin Adams and like, bro, what are we waiting for?
Yes,
let's make some trades.
Right.
All right. Even if that's true, that's probably the rosiest version of it.
That is definitely the most positive way of looking at this.
The flip side of that, or the other side of the coin on that would be, if true. And I think the most cynical way to look at it would be to say, wait a minute, so you're telling me that they hired a person to tell the GM when to actually pull the trigger? Why does anybody need someone to tell them to do that? Like, that'd be the cynical side, to say, why does he need help with that? He's had the job for 6 years. Is it 6? Is it 7? I lose track of how many years it is.
This will be year 6.
Year 6, okay.
This will be year 6.
Year 6. He's had the job for 6 years. And at this point, he's a senior GM. He's one of the longest tenured GMs in the league. I mean, whatever. He's had the job. The idea that he needs someone to hold his hand, again, this is the most cynical view of it, is a bit of a sell. Either way, I think it's fine. A guy with experience, a guy that's been in the league, does it matter that he's Finnish? Is there some sort of, they want maybe more international flavor? Who knows, right? These relationships, I think about relationships like this all the time, because when Ralph Kruger was hired, okay, his players loved him. They wanted to go that direction. Of course, he was not a very good coach, but he had players that really respected him, and they felt like he was loved by players, and he was up until the day he got fired. So do they want someone that carries a level of, oh, yeah, I know Jarmo. Jarmo's a name in the league. He has been a name in the league for quite some time. I think he was given plenty of credit for what happened in Columbus. You painted the picture of it being an imperfect market that he was respectable in. And I feel like
he made the playoffs 5 times. Bills OTAs get back going today. We'll hear from Bobby Babich and Joe Brady before practice, which is at 11:30. We'll carry that live here on WGR. Babich expected to meet with the media at about 10:30 to start that. So stay tuned for that in the Extra Point Show. Sticking with football, Stefan Diggs was at OTAs for the Patriots yesterday, and Ian Rappaport dispelled any rumor that he could be cut. That's not going to happen. Frank Ragnow retiring from the NFL. Lions all-pro center, only 29 years old, is walking away. In hockey, we'll talk more about Jarmo Kekalainen's hire coming up next. KeyBank Center is going to host Game 2 of a 4-game series between the U.S. women's hockey team and the Canadian women's hockey team. Tickets will go on sale on Thursday, November 8th for that game. And Sportsnet's Rick Dwally reports that Stars forward Jason Robertson's name is out there in trade discussions. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
He has a willingness to listen to different perspectives and use different tools when they're at his disposal, right? You look at the Blue Jackets front office. They had Josh Flynn as the assistant general manager. That is a nerdier pick. They have, people like Cam Lawrence working for them. And obviously the Sabres have a very good analytics department, and they have minds like Sam Ventura. So I think the fact that he's willing to work with that and bring in different perspectives, it's always a good thing.
Shannon Goldman of The Athletic on Jarmo Kekalainen. And the Sabres, of course, make the add to their front office. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Going to be 80 degrees today. Beautiful day on the way. We're talking hockey. We've actually, gotten to a bunch on the Sabres today, whether it's the Cup Finals starting tomorrow and some of the old players or, eye to the future and trades they could make. We've dabbled quite a bit today. Joining us on the Western Hotline is former Sabre and current Blue Jackets broadcaster Jean-Luc Grandpierre to tell us a little bit about Jarmo Kekalainen. Jean-Luc, good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Thanks for some time today.
Good morning, fellas. How are we doing?
We're all right. We're like everybody over here trying to figure out the Sabres' path forward. So how should Sabres fans feel about the addition of Jarmo Kekalainen to the front office?
I think it's a great addition. I think, obviously, ownership in Buffalo has realized that, you need to support your general manager. And right now, it happens to be Kevin Adams. And, Kevin is he has experience now, but surrounding yourself with smart people and people that have been around is always a plus for any general manager. And, I remember earlier this season I was talking to Bill Zito, and, I was asking him, about the success of his team and stuff like that. And he said, honestly, he's like, my staff is needs to be credited because they're the one that are bring all these ideas to me and have those arguments with me, and then I just, veto the trades, etc. So I think if you look at most of the good GMs around the league, they have an incredible team around them. It's not just them. Yes, they do. They make the final decision, but I think surrounding yourself with different people is always a key, and I think Buffalo just figured that out.
Yeah, and we'll get to more on his career, but Bill Zito, GM of the Panthers, he got his start from Jarmo in Columbus, right?
That is correct.
Okay. After being an agent, obviously. He was an agent and then got hired from that. So when you look at his tenure, successful, right? Like in Columbus, terminology, they had one playoff berth before he's the GM. I think it's 5 after. So I don't know. How do you look back on that period of time where Kekalainen was the general manager and how successful you would deem it to be?
I think he's an extremely calculated person, right? And the way, he's made a lot of tiny trades, and then he's made some home runs that, I've kind of stunned the league a few times as well. Works under the radar a lot. I always come back to, not just the Johnny Gaudreau signing, but even the trade for Artemi Panarin. What was it, 6-7 years ago, where they sent Brandon Saad to Chicago for Artemi Panarin, and it's what even knew Panarin was available, and then all of a sudden that trade is done. So he works extremely hard. He's a great talent evaluator, and I think for him to be there just as a second voice to help Kevin Adams is going to be key. But Jarmo, great person. He's not the, if you expect somebody that's going to be talking to the public and the press all the time, it's definitely not the guy to look for as far as the Jarmo is concerned. But he's a heck of a good general manager, and I think he's going to be a really good special advisor.
Jean-Luc Grandpierre on the Western Hotline. In that role, one of the things, right or wrong, that people wonder and say about Kevin Adams is maybe credibility when he started would have been difficult, and he could have used someone like this in the role a while back. How about that for Kekalainen? Because the league, Jean-Luc, the league is about relationships, and I feel like he's a guy that's long been respected. There's the resume, there are the results, and then there's every time I've ever heard about him talked about in the NHL, it feels like there is, maybe reverence is too strong, but he's a name that people know and respect.
He is. And that comes with, tenure, right? And he's a guy that obviously was big in the scouting department back in St. Louis, then came to Columbus. But, even when he came to Columbus, they brought John Davidson, right, to be there as a second voice to help him along. So it just to show you that I don't think this is a bad thing for Kevin Adams or, hey, you're not doing the job, we need to hire somebody above you. I think it's really a compliment to the Sabres ownership to recognize that, hey, if it's not working, we need to or bring you some help or make a change. So I think it's a win-win situation. But yeah, as far as Jarmo Kekalainen, I think his name resonates with respect around the league, and it never hurts to bring another big name like that into the fold, because there may be some relationship that Jarmo has that obviously Stahl and Kevin Adams don't have right now, so that could open some more doors, especially starting with the combine here this weekend, which with the draft being remote, I assume there's going to be a lot of conversation taking place here this week.
Were you surprised that he took this role? I mean, maybe not, for the time being, but 58 years old, I mean, his career in Columbus, I don't know, you've seen GMs with a lot lighter resumes get hired, and I would imagine he still has his sights set at some point, maybe not, obviously not this year, and maybe not in the next couple years, but I would imagine he wants to be a GM again.
Well, I'm sure he does. I'm sure that's the ultimate goal, but, just kind of getting yourself back into the league to keep those relationships alive. And, now all of a sudden your name is a little bit more in the talk for future GM jobs is going to be a big plus on his resume. So, yes, would he love to be a GM? I'm sure he is. I mean, I haven't talked to him personally about it, but obviously I'm sure that's where he wants to get back to. There's no doubt about it. And, for him, I think once I declined that opportunity with Buffalo to come back as a general manager or assistant to Kevin Adams, I think Jarmo jumped on it.
Can you take us back? Sorry, Jean-Luc. Can you take us back in free agency to when the late, great Johnny Gaudreau went to Columbus? And, because that was... Elsewhere in hockey, I remember when that happened, it was stunning. No one really thought that Columbus was going to end up landing him. And obviously Kekalainen's role, he's the GM, but how much of a impressive part of his resume should be that I got the top free agent that year to come to Columbus?
That was huge. Obviously, that made some noise all around the league because nobody saw that coming. And I think even, the Blue Jackets were a little surprised, right? And, if you have to come back, the Blue Jackets were in a situation kind of like Buffalo where they were lacking physicality. And that all started with the Blue Jackets talking with Eric Goodbranson when they offered him that 4-year, and then in the conversation, Goodbranson kind of casually said, "Hey, Johnny wouldn't mind coming here as well," because remember they were both in Calgary, and that's what kind of got everything going. And within a few hours from that, that's when Johnny Gaudreau got signed. So it kind of just shows you how just having those relationships, those talks with multiple people, whether it's GMs or players, can open the door to free agency. So it's players talk, and obviously they talk to each other a lot, and sometimes that opens the door, and that's how everything happened in Columbus.
Jean-Luc Grandpierre on the Wester Hotline. Jean-Luc, thanks for the time, and you coming back for the Sabres Alumni Golf Tournament? Come back to town anytime soon? Hitting the links soon?
Yeah, probably we'll be back for the alumni tournament.
All right.
Been there over the past couple of years, so it's always nice to catch up. So don't have the date yet, but if it lines up on my schedule, I'll surely be there. For sure.
One last quick thing. I had just your Wikipedia page open before you came on here, and in the first paragraph it says won the speed skating contest in the AHL All-Star Game, beating Marty St. Louis. Do you want that to be your claim to fame in the first paragraph there? I mean, you are a lot bigger than him, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Not quite the same career path, but it just tells you, right? Sometimes speed is good, but sometimes it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, I guess that's my claim to fame. But maybe I should call the people at Wikipedia and put it down a little later in the paragraph.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Jean-Luc.
You're welcome. See you guys.
All right, Jean-Luc Grandpierre, Columbus Blue Jackets broadcaster, former Sabre. I just saw Twitter account Sabres Fun Stats has created a Sabres all-time names bracket.
Okay.
1 through 32.
He's got to be on it.
He's on it.
Yeah.
He's a 16 seed.
Okay.
It's a straight 1 through 32 seeding. He is the 16th seed.
That's a little low.
Low? Who should be the number 1 seed? Best name in Sabres history.
This. I'm kind of cheating here because you got to go way back when, but me and Ryan Gates on the Nightcap probably 8 years ago had our own name bracket.
For the Sabres?
But it was the Bills and Sabres.
Okay.
So if I think back on what Sabres, Morris Titanic is a name that I know we would have got to.
He is the 4 seed in this bracket.
Okay. I don't know how much further than that I'm going to go, though.
Just all-time Sabres names.
Uwe Krupp.
Uwe Krupp. I'll have to find him here. I don't see him yet.
What about Hannu Virta?
5.
Yeah, there we go.
The 1 seed is, who's the 1 seed? You should get this.
Darren Pupa.
3.
Oh, the outrage.
The number 1 seed in the Sabres Fun Stats Twitter account.
The greatest name?
Yeah. Buffalo Sabres all-time name bracket.
Is it a Finneganov?
It is Maxim Finneganov.
Oh, how dare I not get that?
It's a pretty great name.
It's an elite name. Should win. Win easily, I would say.
Finneganov. So, anyway. All right.
I had a stat on him from, I guess it's not Ovechkin's last year, though, so I can't really use this. But did you see the thing with Ovechkin? I can't believe that some intern or something put this in an email without someone else know. I think they just didn't want it out there yet, but the Capitals sent an email to their season ticket holders that said this was going to be Ovechkin's final season.
But it wasn't supposed to go out. Now they're saying a decision has not been made, but maybe the cat's out of the bag.
Right. I think that they maybe just didn't want to announce it that way, but we'll see. Do you know who has the most points in the NHL in their final season in the last 25 years?
The most points
in their last season.
Is it a Finneganov?
It's a Finneganov.
Okay.
No player in the last 25 years in the entire NHL had more points in his last season. He had 61 points.
And then never played in the NHL again.
That was it. 61 points, and then he was gone.
In Atlanta, right?
In Atlanta, yeah.
You should have an Finneganov Thrashers jersey. Really, you should. Did he wear the one?
An Finneganov Thrashers jersey.
Did he wear the one that had the one blue sleeve and said Thrashers down the arm?
Definitely. That wouldn't be the one I'd want, though, right?
It's the one you should have.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so in a quick search, he did wear that one. Here, there were a couple Thrasher jerseys that year, I guess. Here's one I never remembered them having,
like the red?
It's a red Thrasher uniform with, I can't get a bigger picture, but do you see, here we go. It's got Thrashers across the front. The number is on the center of the chest. And then the Thrasher, like the Thrasher bird, is on the shoulders.
Yeah, it looks.
I don't remember that uniform at all.
The Thrashers wearing what looks like a football jersey.
Yeah, it does.
It says
that
Thrashers
is what it looks like.
up top, and the number is underneath on the chest.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I wonder if that's probably so hard to get. They're probably out there. I'm gonna go look.
Yeah, you should.
Maybe I'll buy one in the break.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. Check in on the Patriots and their OTAs drama. The Bills have some media today, so we'll hear from the coordinators. Sal Capaccio, of course, will be covering that. We'll have some sound later today as we're here in OTA season for football. And then next week, mandatory minicamp. James Cook's story takes another step once that we get to that. 803-0550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. Jeremy White here for Riverfront Auto Sales. I don't think it's a major problem for the Sabres to look at calling every team without a set, hey, here's who we would want from you. I actually think that might be less productive. Call all 31 GMs and tell them the player you'd like to trade for. Instead, it's like, let's chat, you know?
Yeah.
Let's Does Jarmo Kekalainen make one of these calls with someone that he used to work for? I mean,
yeah,
is that not call? Well, I can't call Florida. They're playing, but
yeah, I wonder if it graduates to that. The thing I wonder is, are they going to be? No one's coming and offering you their best players, I don't think. So you've got to be willing to give up something of substance if you want a Jason Robertson, or you want to revisit Elias Pettersson, or you want to do something like that. Like, I pulled up Frank Saravelli's trade board, the clip we just came in with. His trade board, or Daily Faceoff's collective trade board. There are some big names on here. 2 of the top 4, though, are Sabres. Peterka and Byram.
Yeah.
So, and one of those, I think, is a much more expensive and a much bigger decision than the other. Like, Byram, I can't imagine plays another game for this team. And I also don't feel like he's worth a crazy amount. Peterka is a decision. Like, how do you want to navigate that? You still have control for multiple years. But if you want to do this shakeup, and there are these star players out there, you're trading a 23-year-old, but doesn't trading a 23-year-old for a 25, 26-year-old sound like a good idea?
Sure. He's definitely not too old to worry about this. I mean, it's not a guy that's 30. How should Sabres fans feel about the addition of Jarmo Kekalainen to the front office?
I think it's a great addition. I think obviously ownership in Buffalo has realized that you need to support your general manager, and right now it happens to be Kevin Adams, and Kevin is he has experience now, but surrounding yourself with smart people and people that have been around is always a plus for any general manager. And I remember earlier this season, I was talking to Bill Zito, and, I was asking him, about the success of his team and stuff like that. And he said, honestly, he's like, my staff is needs to be credited because they're the one that are bring all these ideas to me and have those arguments with me. And then I just, veto the trades, et cetera. So I think if you look at most of the good GMs around the league, they have an incredible team around them. It's not just them. Yes, they do. They make the final decision, but I think surrounding yourself with different people is always a key, and I think Buffalo just figured that out.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning. Jeremy and Joe. Be nice today. 80 degrees. The good stuff.
There's no Finnegan off Thrasher jerseys in existence.
You're hunting it, huh?
No, it doesn't exist.
All right.
Nothing.
Saquon Barkley's on the cover of Madden.
Yep. Fine. I did see Ian Harditz point out that every running back that's been on the Madden cover has played like 5 games or fewer.
Yeah, that's
maybe it's 10 games.
It's not totally accurate. I saw him say that as well, and he skipped over a couple.
Oh,
and he also included Barry Sanders, who got the cover in a year, 20 years after he retired.
Right.
But yeah,
that's right. Okay, right.
McCaffrey and
Peyton Hillis, Sean Alexander. Yeah,
like Peterson's been on the cover since then. Adrian Peterson.
I honestly read the tweet and did not even realize that Barry Sanders 0 games is what he was doing there.
Yep.
Yeah, he did not play next year.
You remember who was on last year's cover? It was McCaffrey. Allen was 2 years ago.
Was last year?
Yep, McCaffrey was last year.
Okay. And then Allen was before that.
We're getting to the time where we get the Madden player ratings. I saw Barkley he's in the 99 club.
Yeah.
Will Allen ever hit the 99 club?
He'll have to have an insane statistical season, in my opinion. Like, he'll have to put, for a 99 club, you got to break the sport with your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are we talking? He's got to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns.
Is that ever going to happen again? There's a question to be asked.
Well, it hasn't happened.
Will Allen put on the bet board?
Will he ever match his career high right now is 45-44 yardage, 37 passing touchdowns.
Okay. My thing I want to put on the bet board, and you tell me the odds. Will Josh Allen ever lead the league in touchdown passes again? I mean, there's no dispute about his ability.
Yeah,
it's about what they want and the balance and running the ball the way they do and being, neutral script, run heavier than they were back when he was putting up those huge monster numbers.
I could see him doing it with the touchdowns. I bet you he'll never lead in yards.
Will he
never lead in yards?
He'll never throw over 5,000 yards?
Nope.
Maybe in part because the defense will not be bad enough?
Correct. And this a lot of teams are doing this. It's not just them, but it's not even as much. It's not really as much the balance on offense point as much as it is the defense point. How does Burrow throw for 1 billion yards? It's because he's always got to be keeping up with his defense allowing touchdowns. So, and we have a bet about McDermott having a bottom 10 defense. If there's 1 year where that happens, then maybe then it would happen. And in the next 10 years, I still think that there's a good chance. 1 of 10, the Bills' defense is just bad. Worse than it even was last year. Like, they just can't hold it together. And if that happens, then it's, okay, well, we've got to be keeping up in these games. So the Ram game last year. Remember the Ram game? The Ram game is you couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense.
It was also perfect throws from stud quarterback to stud receiver.
That's true. But either way, the results were the same. Your defense couldn't stop that offense.
Yep.
And, okay, Josh, we can't play our run style here. You've got to keep up. And what'd he do? He kept up. He threw 9 of his best passes of the season in that one game. So that's in there, but I don't know that the defense will ever... The defense has to be bad enough.
Should they play really important games pretending that they need to get to 45? Instead of just trying to win by 4? Just asking. People are asking. It's fine. It's a mini camp. It's OTA season.
It is OT. It's June 3rd.
You scored 29 in the AFC Championship game. Instead of trying to play a balance and beat a team by 4 points, why don't you drop 45 in their face? 803-0550. They're not complaining. It's fine. It's fine. It's just a conversation about Allen. It's everything's okay.
I do have some quarterback trivia that relates directly to this conversation that we can get to in the 9 o'clock hour.
Check in Boston, 98.5, the Sports Hub's Alex Barth on the other side to talk about Stefan Diggs. He's there. He's working out. He's at OTAs. He's limited, but the incident is already gone, it would appear. We'll check in on how things are going for Drake May, Mike Vrabel, and the assorted cast there in New England. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. Who's going to win?
I think Edmonton's going to do it.
You're going to back Stuart Skinner.
You think he's going to last through 7?
I think I talked about this a little bit on Saturday. I think he's got the gas tanks full of confidence for him. And it can drain very fast, as we've seen. But I think when you know all you got to do is be one save better than the other guy because you got two of the best players on the planet on your team, I think he can get it done this year. I do. I just think McDavid's undeniable. I have a feeling he's going to score like 3 points a game in this series. I think it's going to be ridiculous.
I'm trying to remember how last series went. Other than, the Panthers ran them over. Did they or they just win the first 3 games? I really want to go back and look at the scores too of those games.
I think it was bad.
Florida got out to a 3-0 lead. We all thought it was going to be over,
and then Edmonton just
rattles off 4 in a row.
The McDavid freaked out in the locker room, and
I feel like I give the edge to Florida because
Florida. I love them. I think that they're a better team, but I just think McDavid will overcome it.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. The 2 things for Edmonton that scare me is 1, they lost Zach Hyman for the series, and that's, I think, a very critical loss.
Yeah.
And 2, I have way more trust that Bobrovsky is going to go through a whole series without screwing up than Skinner is.
Yeah, 100%.
Skinner could lose his team a game or 2.
Yeah,
and
Bob will
that margin for error gets me to Florida.
I also don't like how much rest there is for Bobrovsky specifically. That plays to his strength. He always plays better off rest, and there's breaks in between games, and that really helps him.
And I had the thought this weekend about Diggs and his career arc here. Like, if we talk about it like a breakup, which we have before, the Bills and Diggs broke up and went their separate ways. And maybe plenty of Bills fans were mad about it. Some thought, like, hey, best of luck. We had great times. Now we get to a stage, Joe, for me, where I think, is it sad? Now it might be sad. Wide receivers that are great, they don't all go down this road. Some just have great careers, retire, and go to the Hall of Fame. You've got more examples of that. And for Diggs, man, when they brought him here, he was the best receiver in football. He had multiple great seasons. And then, you want to say personalities or meshing with the quarterback, they burned out. Okay. And Allen couldn't take it anymore, or Diggs couldn't take it, or the team couldn't take it. You get to a point where, like, man, it's kind of like one of those tales of wasted talent that you could have stayed in a great situation if you just stayed. If you could just kind of keep it reined in, you were going to continue. Like, the Bills would not have really gone, I don't think, to the everybody eats, blah, blah, blah. It would have just been he's still on the team and we're going to get other receivers and keep going. And he would have had a career here. He'd had at least one more year. Maybe he tears his ACL. And I don't know. To me, the whole thing kind of gets a little sad if it ends up where he does get cut. And now he's... Deontay Johnson is an example of this, too. Deontay Johnson is provably great at getting open. He's an incredible receiver, but he burned out in Pittsburgh and immediately went to, Carolina, and then to Baltimore and Houston, and now he's in Cleveland, and you think, this is an incredible talent that is going to be wasted. Sometimes it happens
but
where
even that guy's not, Diggs was one of the best receivers in football. Hall of Fame trajectory. Kept going, and maybe he still will.
And Johnson, I feel like, could have been that maybe somewhere else.
Bills OTAs start today, 11:30 for practice. Hear from Bobby Babich at 10:30, Joe Brady at 11. You can listen to those live here in WGR during the Extra Point Show. Frank Ragnow, all-pro center of the Detroit Lions, is walking away from the NFL, retiring at the age of 29. Said it's due to body and health reasons. Stefan Diggs showing up to Patriots OTAs yesterday. We'll talk more about it coming up next on all the drama that's going on with Diggs in the last week. The Eagles officially trade Bryce Huff, defensive end to the 49ers, for a fifth-round pick. 3 years, $51 million last year, but only had 2.5 sacks in Philadelphia. Sportsnet's Rick Dewally reports that Dallas Stars forward Jason Robertson's name's been out there in trade discussions, only 25 years old, and averages 37 goals over the last 4 seasons. November 8th, KeyBank Center is going to host Game 2 of a 4-game series between the U.S. and Canada in women's hockey. Tickets go on sale on Thursday. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Now, my understanding is the team does not plan to cut Stefan Diggs. He's a very good player. They intend to pay him a lot of money. They haven't yet. They intend to pay him a lot of money, especially after he passed the physical from his ACL recovery. It does seem to be on track. This is a player they want to keep, want to be making plays for them. That's why they signed him in free agency to such fanfare. Just got to be better, and this was a step in the right direction for Diggs, and certainly something the Patriots welcome.
Former Buffalo Bill Stefan Diggs, now in New England and at OTAs yesterday. Joining us on the Western Hotline, Alex Barth of 98.5 in Boston. Alex, good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Thanks for some time on some Patriots chatter ahead of during OTAs here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
How quickly did it all blow through? I was actually in Boston last week when the whole boat thing happened and listening to your station quite a bit, and I feel like people had some fun with it, what it all meant. Is it already over, or do we have to wait for Diggs to talk about what happened, if he talks about it at all?
So, I mean, he'll be asked about it when he does eventually talk. I think it's probably on pause until then. It'll be there kind of in the background until the season starts, because if he comes out and isn't performing, people are going to bring it back up again. And should he have been more focused in the spring? Should he have not been on that boat? If he comes up and puts up 125 yards and a couple scores in the first game, then it's really gone and buried. But I think for the most part, through the worst of it and the fact he got back out there, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator yesterday, talking about he's not worried about it. He's not worried about his focus. The fact he was moving as well as he was coming off that torn ACL. I mean, he'll get asked about it again, and it'll come up a little bit then, but I think for the most part, people are done with it.
That might have been, you mentioned how he's moving, the biggest surprise for me. Anybody coming off an ACL, you wonder, and those injuries are always different, but the clips showing him running, doing drills, kind of individual stuff.
Without a brace.
Yeah, I guess I would have expected things to be a little slower coming along, and half of the idea that he wasn't there at OTAs to me was, well, he probably can't work out anyway, and here he is. He certainly looks like he'll be ready to play once the season begins.
Well, what was interesting was they had shown, I don't know how it is in Buffalo, New England, there's only media access to 3 of the 9 practices. So they had posted pictures of him at a practice that we weren't at, but they didn't really show him doing anything. So it's like, okay, was he just there? Was he working out? And yeah, to see him moving around, when they first signed him, Adam Schefter reported that the expectation was he'd be ready for week 1. And everybody kind of looked at that like, yeah, okay, it would be nice. I get it. They just signed him. Everybody's kind of feeling themselves right now. No, that looks like a guy who would be ready, and I don't think he's 100% yet. He didn't take part in the competitive team drills in practice yesterday, so seems like there's maybe still a few things for him to do, but 7 months post-ACL, I mean, most guys even aren't on the field at all. So that was definitely the most encouraging thing yesterday, was how well he was moving.
With all the drama from last week, there were some Vrabel comments that we had played last week on the show here. How do you expect him, and I guess the rest of the coaching staff, but I'm thinking about Vrabel mostly here because of just the way, no-nonsense type of coaching in the past, how he and Diggs might coexist on this team going forward?
I think Vrabel said his part last week, right? Just don't make bad decisions and things like that. And I don't think he has a problem with players, enjoying themselves and being themselves and expressing their personality, but obviously not to the detriment of the football team. So, he said his part. I think Diggs, you hope that he got the message between what Vrabel said, what other coaches have said, but if he's producing, it's not going to be a problem. If he's producing, I think Vrabel will put up with it. It's just a question of, wrong side of 30, coming off the torn ACL. Can he be that guy that he was even last year in Houston? Like, he was good last year in Houston before he got hurt. Can he be that guy for them when the season starts?
Has Drake May said anything about this, by the way, or is there any thought about him, being so young and getting, he's there, though, yesterday. That's, again, part of this, though, isn't it, Alex, that, when I reached out to you to get you on, he obviously wasn't at OTAs, and one thing I was wondering is, how much do the Patriots really want him there? Because, it's not like year 4 with the Bills where you've already got your rapport with Josh Allen, you've played together so much. And I don't know how much thought is there to building chemistry with Drake May, but again, now he's there doing it.
Yeah, I don't think they want him away from Drake May. I think the bigger thing, and he talked about this at his introductory press conference, and I think it's something that they're looking at as a not insignificant part of the signing. They want him to be an influence on these younger wide receivers, and they want him to teach some of the guys. Outside of Kendrick Bourne and Mac Hollins, who they signed, everybody in that wide receiver room is at most 2 years in the league. It's a really young, inexperienced group, and we saw it right away yesterday. He's out there spending significant time working with a lot of these younger guys, and as I'm sure you know, in Buffalo, the Patriots have not been able to develop wide receivers. This has been an issue through multiple coaching staffs, multiple front offices. It goes back like a decade now that they can't get the best out of wide receivers they draft. So I think that there's hope that Diggs is going to be a reference there, a sort of mentor there, and that's going to happen in this setting. This is the best setting for that to happen. So I think they really want him there, because not just to work with Drake May and get better, they want him working with the young receivers too and helping those guys out.
Alex Barth joining us. Alex, do you think that the glow up the Patriots are getting is deserved here? They make the coaching change. Was last year's team? I know they finished near the bottom, artificially low. Do you feel like they did not get as much out of the team as they could have? And this year, you might get a bounce back ×2, because Vrabel does seem to get a lot out of his teams. I think he consistently did that in Tennessee, and maybe if you bounce up 2 spots in terms of the coaching ranks, you think they deserve this little bit of love they've been getting lately?
Yeah, I think they do. I think the Vrabel thing is a part of it. There were problems last year, and it got worse as the year went on, that there were just so many missed opportunities, and like you said, not getting the most out of the roster, misusing players. The other thing that I think is a part of it that is more of a projection that I think more people are assuming than saying out loud is a lot of this banks on Drake May taking that year 2 leap. And we've seen what a quarterback can do going from year 1 to year 2, and how much room there is for improvement, how much those guys usually improve when they have a promising first year like Drake May did. So, if Drake May's the same guy he was last year, they're probably not hitting a lot of these projections. If he takes the kind of year 2 jump we've seen a lot of quarterbacks take, then you're, that 9-win conversation, some other things have to go right, but that 9-win conversation looks a lot more real.
And then there's the schedule too, right? Where, especially at the start, we were looking at this the other day, that Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers before they play the Bills, and then the 3 games after the Bills look pretty light also. So I'm wondering how big a step they even really need to take. I almost feel like they could go through a modest, type of improvement from one year to the next, and by the time they get to the midpoint of the year, I guess the schedule might present itself of, if they have some warts or some things they need to get better at, that their record and their schedule might keep them on track.
The early schedule definitely helps. The thing is, and this was part of the issue last year, and really the last 2 years, this goes back to the end of Belichick, there were so many games that they should have won that they still didn't win. They were like, you looked at the schedule last year, there were probably 6 to 7 games that they should have won, and they only won 3 of them because we weren't counting that game at the end of the year. So that's been a problem for them, that, they should win this game on paper, but they can't get out of their own way. And Mike Vrabel talked about this in his opening press conference. He was asked about some of the pillars of his program, and one of the first things he said was, we just need to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. We're not good enough to take advantage of bad football right now. And they weren't last year. That's true. So if he can get them there, if they can just get to the point where they're beating bad football teams and not getting in their own way too much, then they should be able to roll. If Vrabel can't fix that, then that, who knows what happens at the beginning of the year. But I think he can fix it. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Alex Barth, 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. Alex, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. 6
losses by 1 score, New England.
Last year?
Yeah. Looking at the record in 1-score games, that's one thing you can do. They have a win over Cincinnati by 1 score, lose to Seattle by 1. Other wins by 1 score, I told you 6 losses by 1 score. Wins by 1 score, the Jets, that's 2. And the Bills, the last game of the season. That's it. They lost to the Colts by a point.
Yeah.
They lost to the Bills by 3 in a game here that was a game where everybody tried. What Allen do in that game? Let me check. Allen in that game, 16 of 29 for 154 and a touchdown. James Cook had...
That was a bit... Ooh, that's week 17?
Yeah.
That is the... James Cook wins me a fantasy championship game.
He had 100 yards and a touchdown. And then receiving, he had 3 for 26 and a touchdown.
Yep, love that. New England favored by 2.5 in week 1 against the Raiders.
Okay. Where's that game?
New England.
Okay.
Their first 3 games are all kind of who's who games. New England plays Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers in their first 3 games. I feel like they should be better than all 3 of those teams. I also wouldn't want to guarantee you they're going to be better than any of those 3 teams. Right? It's possible any of those 3 are better than them this year. Possible.
It feels like if you try to say the Raiders are ready to be good, you are just ready to be the biggest sucker on earth.
Well, but what if you really like Geno Smith?
I don't think it's crazy that they could be respectably good.
I like Geno Smith a lot, and they hired Chip Kelly to be their offensive coordinator. Fine. Love Jack Besh, the guy they picked in round 2. I'm not going to tell you he's the reason why they're going to be great, though. Well, what are they going to try to be? They're going to try to run the ball with their rookie running back 9,000 times, aren't they?
Probably.
Run the ball, Pete Carroll. I could see them being playoff contender good. I think the quarterback is probably good enough that they got a baseline. They're going to win 7-8 games at least. It's basically what Seattle's been the last couple of years. So I could get behind the Raiders being okay.
Saw a piece about Von Miller, landing spots for Von. Quick, just thought exercise for everybody out there. If you want this, Von Miller, Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas.
Yeah.
All still available.
Yeah.
Does that, when you confront that notion, does that make you think about last year's team in a different way at all? Douglas, Cooper, Vaughn, 3 of your consistent on-the-field players. I mean, I guess Cooper not as much, and Vaughn's a rotational guy, but those are 3 veterans you had on the team that you decided we're going to move on from them, and no one has picked them up.
Yeah.
Not just 1. None
of them.
3. To me, it's a little bit of, well, you know what? If Josh Allen hadn't won the MVP, let's go back and give it to him, because you said goodbye to 3 pieces that were big, and they're not on teams.
Right.
And you're trying to find homes for them.
You would expect, though, all 3 are going to play in the league this year, though, right?
That's right. I would.
Yeah, like Vaughn's going to play for sure, I think. Also, he should. I mean, his numbers last year were pretty good.
They were pretty good.
So
his pass rush win rate, his PFF score, he was the highest rated defensive end on the team.
Even just look at the sacks per the amount of pass rushes he had. Like, it's pretty good. But 6 sacks on half the rushes that like Greg Rousseau had, for instance.
But Vaughn also has 2 teams that he'd probably just go back and. I mean, does he need the money? He can just go play for Denver. He can just go play for L.A.
Well, he made a comment the other day, actually, that Denver doesn't want him. Like, he might have wanted to go back to Denver, and they're not interested. I don't think there's an opening here, right?
No.
Even with an injury to Bosa and a suspension to Hoyt, I don't think there's an opening here. There's too many guys in the room. So, yeah, doesn't he latch on with a contender at some point? He might even wait till the season starts and latch on with a team. Whereas Cooper Cooper, if the league thinks he's shot, then what is he going to get? Is he going to just get a practice squad role somewhere? Like, hey, come prove you can even still play in the league anymore? I didn't think it went that bad. I mean, it was not good.
No,
but
it wasn't.
he caught the ball on like jump balls. Like they were impressive catches that he made. He was not open, and that's the problem, I guess. But the Jet game, where Josh puts a ball in the back corner of the end zone, and I think he's being covered by DJ Reed on the play, and Cooper jumps into the air over him and comes down with the ball and lands on his back for a touchdown. Like, he's not getting open as much, and he's not a guy you want with the ball in your hands on a screenplay. Third down. But I would think he could still play in the league and fill some type of role for somebody. Pittsburgh, maybe. Feels appropriate for that.
Pittsburgh. All right.
Want some quarterback trivia?
I do.
Quarterback trivia. This is, I think, tougher than you might think it is. Give me the 8 quarterbacks that have thrown for 50-plus touchdowns in the last 2 years. And I bet you're going to have trouble getting a couple of them.
So 8 quarterbacks have thrown for 50 touchdowns in the last 2 years.
Can you do it without making 5 mistakes?
I can get the number 1 quarterback.
Okay, because that's one I thought you wouldn't get.
I'll get that one.
You'll get that one?
Bank it.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield.
How about that?
Baker Mayfield leads the league in touchdowns in the last 2 years.
No one's thrown more.
62?
69.
69, okay. I saw that.
You must have seen that.
I saw it a couple weeks ago. He's number 1, yeah, Baker.
Because no one would ever guess Baker Mayfield.
No.
You might have guessed him for top 8, but you would never guess him for number 1.
Nope, I would not.
But he's number 1.
Josh
number 5, 57.
Okay. Last 2 years. Hold on 1 second here. Pulling up I got to look at the logos. That's how this works.
Man, you got Baker.
I got Baker.
Baker was the one I thought I'd get you on.
I mean, I don't want to be wrong on Mahomes because he had a bad couple statistical seasons, but 50 is not a lot, Mahomes.
7th.
Okay.
53.
Yeah, 7th. Good. All right.
You got 1, 5, and 7.
All right. Lamar.
3, 65.
50 touchdowns the last 2 years.
0 mistakes so far.
See, injuries are going to get...
Let's see if you can do this perfect.
Injuries are going to get tough, though.
Okay.
Goff
is number 2 with 67. I really want to see if he can get this clean now. He's got 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. You're missing 4, 6, and 8. 3 away from a perfect round here.
All right, hold on. Let me get my rough draft guesses over here. I'm gonna start to list some rough draft guesses. That one I don't like because he's injured all the time. I don't think it's going to be him. Again, I think I was hurt a bunch, but he threw so many last year. Sure, Burrow.
Burrow's number 4.
Okay.
Despite playing like 7 fewer games than a lot of these guys.
He threw like 37 last year. I felt okay about it.
He's got 58, which is 4th.
Okay.
Number 6 and number 8, 57 and 51 touchdown passes by these two.
Okay. Okay, I've got 4 names down.
No mistakes yet.
No, that's right. That's right. How many spots are left?
2.
2 spots left. Okay.
There are also 15 players that have thrown exactly 1 touchdown in the last 2 years. That's a fun list, too. Jerick McKinnon is on that list.
Oh, boy. Here's a tough one. There's a couple in here, like, again, 2 season starters that threw a lot of touchdowns.
Right, yeah. No one played 1 and got 50+.
Tua is wrong. Taking him out.
Okay.
The names I have.
Yeah, tell me what are the names you got?
The names I have are Lawrence, Stroud, Geno, Hurts, Love, Stafford, and Purdy. Those are the contenders.
How about this? I'll give you your hint is that the 2 names are within your list.
Yeah,
they are.
I felt good about that. I don't know about Stafford 2 years ago being hurt. I feel like he was and thought about retiring, so I'm taking Stafford out.
Okay.
Is that correct?
I don't know if I should I tell him?
Let's play it this way.
All right, sure, yeah. Stafford's out.
Stafford
threw 44 in the last 2 years. Yeah, what did he threw 2 years ago? Oh, no, he only threw 20 last year.
Okay.
He went 24 and then 20.
Okay.
The year before was the one he was injured.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
one where
either way.
That's one where Mayfield comes in like the week of and leads them to a comeback.
So that's bad process, but a right answer.
Yes.
I'll take it. Trevor Lawrence spent some time hurt and they had a terrible year. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence out.
You skulled a 56 that hit the bunker, rolled through, and is 5 feet from the pin.
Trevor Lawrence out.
Trevor Lawrence is out. He only has 32.
Yowza.
32 in the last 2 years.
And I'm about to take Travis Hunter second overall in fantasy in a dynasty draft. Probably. Stroud.
Liam Cohen is a second for Coach of the Year.
How bad was Stroud's sophomore slump? How many did he have in his first season there as a rookie? I'm not taking him out yet.
Okay. We're holding on to Stroud.
Love spent some time hurt last year. Purdy is not terrible here. Purdy's offenses are usually good. I have him in fantasy. He's fairly bankable as a starter.
You traded for him from me?
I did. And then I traded him away. I think. I don't even know who I have. Yeah, I did because I have Josh Allen in that league now. 50 touchdowns. I should just get off the pot here already, right?
I like this.
I have 2 left?
You have 2 left.
My answers are going to be Purdy, and if I get it wrong twice, I'll feel terrible about this. Does Purdy throw 25 touchdowns each year? He didn't get hurt. He lost Ayuk. He lost McCaffrey.
Also, Ricky Pearsall injured at training camp.
Got
right
shot.
Now.
He's hurt this year?
Yeah, this year. He's got no receivers at practice. Okay, Ayuk's not there. Debo got traded. Pearsall's gone.
Well, this year he's not shot.
They still have Juwan Jennings, I guess.
So Geno before Seattle was where?
He was a backup. Chargers, but he's played 2 years for Seattle.
Right.
In fact, he played 3 years for Seattle. 3 years as a starter. 5 years on the Seahawks. 2 as a backup.
I've got to pick 2 of these 5.
2 of the 5.
Why is it so difficult? I mean, Hurts. No, Hurts is out.
Hurts is out. That's correct.
All right.
Hurts 41. 41. Really good in Super Bowls, though.
Yeah.
Really, really good in Super Bowls.
So it's down to 2 of the last 4. Stroud, Smith, Love, Purdy.
Mm-hmm. Nothing incorrect so far.
No, that's right. No incorrect. If I'd gotten one wrong, we'd have already gone to break. Instead, I just want to run this table.
Yeah.
I want to get this right. I'm going to say that Stroud's sophomore slump was bad enough. Stroud out.
Stroud, 43 touchdowns. Below the threshold. He is not one of the 2.
So 2 of 3 left.
Yep. He can't possibly mess this up.
At least I'm going to get one right.
He's got a 5-point lead with 23 seconds left.
I'm going to get one right. Okay, so Geno, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy. 2 of those 3 threw 50 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Really what I want here is who's the most likely to have thrown for 30? Because getting to 20 is nothing. That's the threshold here. Did somebody get to 30? Because if they did...
Yeah, the 2 guys that are on the list both got to 30.
Yeah. So, with that in mind... It's not Jordan Love.
You're saying it's not Jordan Love?
I'm saying it's Geno and Purdy. Because Jordan Love, if my timelines are right, Jordan Love has had 1 season after his extension that he got after a half of a good season and a good playoffs. It's Geno and Purdy.
All right, he's locked it in. Number 8 with 51 touchdowns, Brock Purdy. Number 6, tied with Josh Allen, with 57 passing touchdowns, Jordan Love.
Shit. Ooh. Darn it. The ship sailed. Apologies. The ship sailed.
Wow.
I didn't get to the final letter.
We need. Where's the board?
I didn't get to the final letter.
Sense.
I didn't get to the final letter. That was authentic, and I did not get to the final letter. Sincerest apologies. I felt so good about it. Jordan Love.
Oh, and take all his points away on the chat.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Put him down to 0.
Did not get to the final letter. Well, Shiz University is what I was saying.
I'll pay your fine. I'll pay your fine to the FCC
from Wicked. No, Shiz University is what I was saying.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get a break in. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. Great trivia. Apologies for getting 9 out of 10. Why did I think Gino?
So close.
How many Gino have?
Gino had 41.
No, not even close.
Same as Jalen Hurts.
Did he have 2 years? What were his 3 numbers? There's 3 totals.
In Seattle, he had, let's see, in his 3 years as a starter, 30 touchdowns in 2022, 20 in 2023, and 21 in 2024.
So he had 50 the 2 years before.
If I'd asked you the same question 1 year ago, he would have been.
I missed it by a year.
He would have been correct.
All right. 803-0550, your number on WGR. Like, thinking about their build, I think the defensive end issues last year were kind of overstated. I just don't think it was as big of a problem as we kind of made it out to be. Sure, they needed better results on defense. You know what's going to give them better results on defense? The secondary being better. This was by far the weakest last year, the weakest secondary that a Sean McDermott team's ever had, right? DeMar Hamlin starting, which they did not want. That happened all year out of necessity. Mike Edwards never got off the ground. Cole Bishop was not ready. Maybe Cole Bishop is ready this year. Max Hairston, I mean, if that goes well, what kind of upgrade is that? Off the charts? Teams knew that Douglas couldn't hang physically the way that Hairston hopefully will be able to. So part of my optimism about what their defense will be up front is that they'll be better on the back end. Because
you're confident they'll be better on the back end?
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
I'm going to famously say it couldn't be worse, but I mean that in a McDermott range. The range of secondaries the Bills have had under Sean McDermott. Granted, it's a lot of Hyde and Poyer. A lot.
Yeah.
Year one after that ends up being Rapp and Hamlin. And that's, to me, it's not very good. I think Rapp brings some playmaking ability. I like him just fine. Hamlin, you just kind of knew teams could attack them there, and did. And this year, hopefully, it can be better.
That's the thing, though. It's still hopefully, right?
But that's everybody.
It's possible.
Every single move is hopefully. Every draft pick, every free agent for every team is going to be hopefully this works out.
That's right. But at some other positions, you're relying on veterans to be that. And at the back end, isn't it more about the young guys doing it? Which is fine. Like that could work.
Sure. But I guess
I might even expect that between Bishop and Hairston, one of those two, I expect is going to make their secondary as a whole better. Right. I'm not sure that both. You could how likely would it be both guys are going to hit the ceiling that you imagine for them?
I think if you look at most of the good GMs around the league, they have an incredible team around them. It's not just them. Yes, they do. They make the final decision, but I think surrounding yourself with different people is always a key, and I think Buffalo just figured that out.
Jean-Luc Grandpierre, we spoke with him about an hour ago. He's a broadcaster, covers the Blue Jackets, would have some time watching the Jackets under Jarmo Kekalainen. And Kekalainen, of course, now a member of the Sabres front office. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. Today's my anniversary, Joe. My wife and I, our anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
Nice. What are you doing for it?
I earned points this week by knowing the correct number of years. She did not know. She had it wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
That usually goes the other way, I think.
9 years. How about it? I'm like, actually, it's 8.
Okay.
8-year anniversary.
Before you just said 8, I'm like, there's no way she misremembered it being 10. You know if it was 10.
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years.
8 years married.
Nice.
It was a nice day. It was a lot like today. It was beautiful outside.
When was it? June? June 3rd, dog. Stupid. Was it 6:05 for that question?
We're having a rough 9 a.m. hour here. Today's their anniversary. Oh, what was the date?
What time of year was it?
Yeah, it was beautiful. And like you know how it works with the wedding. You're watching the 10-day forecast, the 7-day, the 5-day, the 3-day.
Yeah.
If you're having an outdoor wedding, yeah.
You had an outdoor wedding?
We did. We got married at Hoyt Lake, right at the Marcy Casino.
And it held up?
Right there in the Rose Garden. Yeah, beautiful. It was a great day.
Nice.
Great party. Great time.
Yeah, the only thing I remembered thinking about for us with weather was that smoke. There was so much smoke the week of our wedding that we didn't know how that was going to impact it. Or, like, just, would you do it anyway? If it was really bad, like outside, not go like I don't know. There was a lot up in the air with that, but never got there. Luckily, Adam Schefter just reported that Gabe Davis is visiting with the Steelers.
All right,
over the next 2 days.
Not a surprise.
There's been no whispers about him in the Bills, right? Not a peep that I've seen. We talked about him for the Bills the day he was released. And then since then, I think he's done a visit with the Niners, the Giants, and the Steelers, and I have never seen anything connecting him and the Bills.
Nope.
Other than he was at Josh Allen's wedding. In fact, I think he was the only former teammate I did see invited to his wedding.
Who else did we see? Dawson Knox.
We saw Dawson Knox.
In the wedding party? Dawson Knox?
Oh, was he?
I
didn't see that, but it's not surprising. Larry David, of course.
Larry David.
Which is hilarious. Larry David was there. I don't know if I saw anybody else other than that, though. I'm going off paparazzi that were... Where were they? In the trees? They were a very high angle.
Yeah.
There could be a building next door, I'm
Drones.
sure. Drones.
That brings up a brand new thing. We talked yesterday. Yesterday was Howard's birthday, and we've long done the thing with birthday bros. How about wedding partners?
Yeah.
My
anniversary?
My anniversary is the same day as Josh Allen's anniversary.
Yeah.
Anniversary amigos. There we go. Coined it. Done.
Not quite there, though.
So happy anniversary to anyone else whose anniversary it is. It's my wife
on June 3rd.
June 3rd. Big day coming up for me on Thursday. I'm going to be stepping in and coaching the T-ball team.
Let's go.
Are
you going to run the shift?
Yeah. We shift every couple batters. When we signed up for T-ball, and my son plays T-ball, got there first time, and the coaches on the team are like, by the way, if you're here, congratulations, you're going to be a coach. I thought, like, oh, yeah, maybe I will.
Okay.
I'm a coach.
Is this just a one-game thing?
Well, I mean, unless the team really responds, and then the post-game shows are going to say, I think they responded. I think the old coach message is getting stale. And get this guy in there.
A players-only meeting. You're going to be a players-only meeting after the game.
Let me tell you what the players-only meeting is. They're chasing bubbles around the park. That's all they do. It is hilarious to watch 4- and 5-year-olds play T-ball. It's awesome. It's so fun. But I will self-report.
Because really your job is just what? Make sure they're running the right way after they hit the ball.
Yes, with the help of other coaches. Run over there.
Run that way, and then run to that one.
The format of these T-ball games, I've learned this year, maybe those of you out there really knew what these were like, it's everybody, you go through the lineup one time, everybody hits, nobody gets out, you just swing until you hit the ball in the play, the fielders pick it up, and they throw to first if they can remember or get it there. It doesn't matter. Everybody goes to first. And the bases are always loaded, and the last batter hits it and runs all the way around the bases, and then the next team bats. Like, that's it. There's really no...
Yeah.
It's kind of a glorified batting practice, which is great because the kids know they get to bat every time.
Yep.
My son explaining to him that the ball doesn't come to you on every single hit. It's been a battle. How come they're not hitting it to me?
When he's fielding,
yes,
I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why won't they hit it to me?
Will he try to run over to where the ball is no matter where, if it's his position or not?
A little lazy on that right now.
Oh, okay. But if it's hit at him, he'll grab it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try.
All right.
Try.
Yeah. But he's not covering for the shortstop if the shortstop's, off his mark.
No, that's right. That's right.
Right.
So, yeah, coaching T-ball. I will self-report something. I mentioned before my son plays on the Yankees, and that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because there's Yankee gear in my house, and my wife, happy anniversary, she's purchased Yankee hats for the entire family.
Oh.
Not me.
Oh, not you?
I said, don't buy me one.
Wow.
So now my daughter's got a Yankee hat. The baby's going to be in a Yankee onesie soon. She's wearing Yankee hats. And I will self-report that when posting a video of Knox blasting a home run with the wiffle ball, I did include in there, this will speak to the kids on like Insta and TikTok, I included a little sticker gif of Aaron Judge hitting a home run.
Oh, I thought you were going to put the Batista bat flip.
No, he's a Yankee. He's not a Blue Jay.
No, he's a Yankee.
Well, I know, but you like the Blue Jays. I thought you were just going to be rebellious.
I put Aaron Judge in there, and I'm not happy about it.
There's no way you would get a Yankee hat?
No.
See, I would almost look forward. Whenever I get these ads on social media for hats, because I buy a lot of hats, often I'll see Yankee hats. But they're not like just normal Yankee hats. They'll be like here's one I got recently. It's like a Yankee hat with a rose on it. Like something like that. You can get fancy with them because they make... Do you know how many different Yankee hats are out there that aren't the colors? I think you should take this opportunity. You should get a Yankee hat. And an upside-down Yankee hat in that. Of course.
Did you see what I tweeted at you when I was at Treehouse Brewing in Boston? They had an upside-down Julius hat.
Did you get it?
I didn't get it. I should have got it for you and for Mike.
Yeah, you got to get it for Mike. He would have worn it all next season, he said, for lacrosse. So, wait. Your wife then is going to take pictures of the family.
The whole family in Yankee hats, yeah.
And you're going to be in the picture, but be the only one not... Wait, you're coaching the team tonight?
It's Thursday, yeah.
And you're not going to be wearing the hat?
No.
I think you have to. You are the manager.
Remember Mike Nolan wanted to wear a suit coaching the 49ers? That's me. Like, I don't want to wear the gear. I just want to wear
You should wear a suit.
Should put a suit.
You should wear a full suit.
No, I'm not wearing a Yankee hat.
Get like one of those Vince Lombardi hats too on top of it, or Tom Landry hats, or whoever.
I would blow out here wear a Yankee hat long before I ever ate an egg salad sandwich, but I'm just not going to wear a Yankee hat.
I think I can find you a Yankee hat that you'll like.
No, you will not.
I think I could.
I don't even really hate the Yankees.
I hate the Yankees, and I'm telling you, I've seen hats where I'm like, oh, could I wear a Yankee hat? Just even for the look of it. I don't care about them.
Not doing it. Not doing it.
What's your favorite? Come on, what are your favorite colors? We can find one here. What's this one? Overstitch type of hat.
Yeah, it's a nice color. It's ruined by the logo.
The logo though is almost the same color, so it's kind of hidden. That's what you need.
Okay,
you ever see those the black hats with the black logo?
Sure. You know what I'll do?
That's
I'll wear an all black hat, and I'll just tell people it's an invisible Yankee logo. That's what it is. You can't see it.
What about a pastel Yankee hat? Here we go. We're Yankee hat shopping here live. Pastel.
You're shopping.
That doesn't look sharp.
My wife has one with flowers on it. She's buying the same ones. Just not. It feels wrong. It feels wrong to wear it.
You should talk to Howard about this because
do I get to
his
put
son working for the Yankees. He's had
half snark, half real question. Do I get to put it on and start talking about how many world championships the Yankees have won immediately? Like every Yankee fan ever has done? You just put the hat on and immediately you're like, oh, 20, is it 27?
It's 27.
27 world championships, babe.
I'm a Yankee fan, and I don't even talk about 27 because, then
a lot of them are a long time ago.
As soon as I say 27, they're going to say, when was the last one? Oh, when I was 10 years old. I'm now 26.
Yeah. It's 2009?
Yeah, 2009. I don't do that anymore.
I don't hate the Yankees, but I've spent enough time feeling grossed out by the idea of wearing one of the hats. I just can't do it. But I will coach the team to great success.
Here's a Yankee hat with the 27 rings on it.
Yeah, get me that one.
Littered throughout.
Get me that one.
The entire hat is the yeah. I think you should take this opportunity
to wear a Yankee hat.
Yeah. What are you going to wear on Thursday then?
Something like I'm wearing now. Like a hat.
Just a different hat.
Just a different hat.
You wouldn't wear a different baseball team.
No, that'd be confusing.
Like you wouldn't wear a Red Sox hat.
Who are we playing?
Right. You can't. You have to make sure you're not wearing the hat for your opponent.
We're playing the Cardinals.
Okay, so don't wear a Cardinals hat.
Got to make sure it's the right color hat. Like that blue.
Yeah, you should at least match the color.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Encore blue. I'll wear this hat.
Or can you get something pinstripes that doesn't have the Yankee logo on
What if I show up in a full pinstripe suit?
Now listen.
Hi, I'm the manager.
Yeah, that's how you do it. I'm into that.
With an old-timey hat and everything?
100. Look like you're managing the 1922 Yankees. They weren't wearing jerseys back then, right?
The manager?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
When did that start?
Miller Huggins is the manager of the 1922 Yankees.
Miller Huggins.
And he is wearing pinstripes and high socks. And
he's wearing like the whole get-up?
Oh, yeah. Miller Huggins. All right, Extendo Sports coming up, and then the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show here on WGR. Who's going to win?
I think Edmonton's going to do it.
You're going to back Stuart Skinner.
You think he's going to last through 7?
I think I talked about this a little bit on Saturday. I think he's got the gas tanks full of confidence for him, and it can drain very fast, as we've seen. But I think when you know all you got to do is be one save better than the other guy because you got two of the best players on the planet on your team, I think he can get it done this year. I do. I just think McDavid's undeniable. I have a feeling he's going to score like 3 points a game in this series. I think it's going to be ridiculous.
I'm trying to remember how last series went. Other than, the Panthers ran them over. Did they ever just win the first 3 games? I really want to go back and look at the scores too of those games.
I think it was bad. Like
Florida got out to a 3-0 lead. We all thought it was going to be over,
and then Edmonton just
rattles off 4 in a row.
The McDavid freaked out in the locker room, and
I feel like I give the edge to Florida because Florida.
I love them. I think that they're a better team, but I just think McDavid will overcome it.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. The two things for Edmonton that scare me is, one, they lost Zach Hyman for the series, and that's, I think, a very critical loss.
Yeah.
And two, I have way more trust that Bobrovsky is going to go through a whole series without screwing up than Skinner is.
Yeah, 100%.
Skinner could lose his team a game or two.
Yeah,
and
Bob will,
that margin for error gets me to Florida.
I also don't like how much rest there is for Bobrovsky specifically. That plays to his strength. He always plays better off rest, and there's breaks in between games, and that really helps him.
I don't think it's a major problem for the Sabres to look at calling every team without a set, hey, here's who we would want from you. I actually think that might be less productive. Call all 31 GMs and tell them the player you'd like to trade for. Instead, it's like, let's chat,
Yeah.
Does Jarmo Kekalainen make one of these calls with someone that he used to work for? I mean,
yeah,
is that not call? Well, I can't call Florida. They're playing. But
yeah, I wonder if it graduates to that. The thing I wonder is, are they going to be... No one's coming and offering you their best players, I don't think. So you've got to be willing to give up something of substance if you want a Jason Robertson, or you want to revisit Elias Pettersson, or you want to do something like that. Like, I pulled up Frank Saravelli's trade board, the clip we just came in with. His trade board, or Daily Faceoff's collective trade board. There are some big names on here. 2 of the top 4, though, are Sabres. Peterka and Byram.
Yeah.
So, and one of those, I think, is a much more expensive and a much bigger decision than the other. Like, Byram, I can't imagine plays another game for this team. And I also don't feel like he's worth a crazy amount. Peterka is a decision. Like, how do you want to navigate that? You still have control for multiple years. But if you want to do this shakeup, and there are these star players out there, you're trading a 23-year-old, but doesn't trading a 23-year-old for a 25, 26-year-old sound like a good idea?
Sure, he's definitely not too old to worry about this. I mean, it's not a guy that's 30. Who's going to win?
I think Edmonton's going to do it.
Okay, Extendo Sports, wrapping quickly and handing off to the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. OTAs today down at One Bills Drive. So we'll hear from the coordinators, I believe, both Bobby Babich and Joe Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for that. Maybe James Cook shows up. I would imagine Josh Allen is not there. Don't you kind of want him to not be there this week? Have a honeymoon.
The honeymoon, unless he goes on the honeymoon after this week.
After mandatory minicamp? Yeah, that could be right. He could be there.
He could go after minicamp. I bet you he waits. He goes to OTAs, then minicamp is next week. He's not going to want a 1 week honeymoon.
Isn't your entire life?
If you are a football player with a $250 million contract and you just married an actress, I am going on a month-long honeymoon.
Yeah.
And I believe if you play professional football, July is open. Wide open. You could leave the minute minicamp ends. You got like a month and plus until training camp. That's when you go.
Isn't his entire life a honeymoon in the summer though? He can kind of do whatever he wants and go wherever he wants.
Yes.
Maybe he'll be there. We'll find out.
Can he go everywhere? Monaco is a little expensive.
I think he can
probably
swing
go
it.
to Monaco.
Yeah, he can swing a lot of stuff. All right. That's it for us. We're back tomorrow. We'll have our conversation with our weekly chat with Joe Marino, the Locked On Bills podcast. We'll have a preview of Game 1 of the Cup Final, Edmonton. It's Stanley Cup Final Game 1, Edmonton and Florida from Edmonton. So that's that. Thanks for texting, listening, calling, tweeting, and all that. Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show coming up here on WGR.